This conference will now be recorded.
I've got a quick announcement for everybody. There seems to be some misunderstanding about my directive. So here it is, once again. Get your stuff in to Tammy on the date she sends out on the email. Anything that comes from a committee that's after that date will be included, because committee work is moving. Other stuff may or may not be moving. So if you've got something that was in legal, you've got to get the updated amended copies to Tammy so we can get on this committee the next meeting. Same way with, what is it, infrastructure?
Public
I
safety.
already told the chairman of infrastructure, you do something that requires our review, get it onto it. We don't want to delay this stuff, but we want it in an organized fashion. We want to have time to look at this stuff and then proceed and have sufficient time to deliberate all these issues, because there's a ton of them out there to deliberate. Okay, now, are there any questions about that? I think it's pretty cut and dry. If you want a printed copy of it, I'll be glad to draft one. It's not a complicated deal. Okay, here we go. All right, first thing is call the roll, note the members present. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda, but moving action item 5 to a non-action item.
Okay, so you're going to move item 5.
Yes.
Make 6-5, and then add item 6 down on action items.
I would rather you pull it,
You don't even want to discuss it?
not this month, next month.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Second. We'll remove it from the agenda.
I like that. We got rid of one item. Okay. So action item. Huh?
Take a vote on that.
Take a vote on that, Mr. Chairman.
Any objections? Thank you. 5-0.
To do roll call.
I didn't hear anybody squawking, so.
Want to do a roll call?
Hang on a minute. She needs to do roll call.
Huh?
She needs to do roll call. Okay.
I told her to start the members.
Go ahead
present.
and do roll call.
Chairman Corn,
Reluctantly here.
Councillor Calvin,
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Councillor Halverson. Here. Councillor Johnson,
I'm here.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Present.
When I say note to members present,
Mark
We're
the
done.
time that Councilor Halverson left the room.
yeah, be sure and mark it down. 3 minutes after, she'll really be done. Okay. Guess we're on to the audit that's been handed out. It's in front of you. It's been posted by the state, and now we're here to discuss it. So let's get our guest on.
Chris, are you on?
I am. Thank you, Counselor. Can you hear me?
Okay, Chris? Yep, it's up to you now, buddy.
Okay. If we can go ahead and go to the next slide. What presentation I have here is just some financial highlights or some highlights from the exit conference that we did back in December. The audit, as was stated by Councilor Corn, has been approved by the state auditor. It is on the state auditor's website and is available to the public. So the first thing I wanted to go over is the auditor's report, which is what we issued as a result of our audit procedures. We issued what we call an unmodified opinion, or as I put in brackets there, a clean opinion. So this really is the highest level of assurance that auditors can give, and this is exactly the type of report that the city wants to receive. So our opinion states that your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with the standards that we have to follow as your auditor. Again, it's exactly the type of report that you want to receive. If you go to the next slide, there are 2 other reports in the financial statements that are our reports. The one on the left relates to what we call a Yellow Book audit or a government standards audit. In the Yellow Book audit, all audits throughout the state of New Mexico are required to follow these standards. And the reason is the state auditor wants us to actually pick samples and test internal controls. Additionally, the state audit rule expands that and has a list of 20 to 25 items that potentially could impact our audit. And so they have us look at things like travel and per diem, procurement, the use of credit cards. And so the state auditor not only requires us to do a Yellow Book audit, but then they also expand it a little bit too. Additionally, the state audit rule expands the definition of what findings have to be included in your audit report. And there are quite a few findings in here that don't, under the Yellow Book standards, have to be reported. But the New Mexico State Auditor takes the threshold that the Yellow Book establishes and basically takes it down to the ground level so that if we have any exceptions, we as auditors in our state are required to report those as findings. And so a little bit more testing we have to do in our state, and also more findings that have to be reported in our audits because of the state audit rule. And really the whole reason for all that is the state auditor wants transparency. They want, if we have issues, let's deal with them, let's make them public so that the council can know, and so that management can, have the opportunity to deal with those findings. If we look at the box on the right, that is what we call more commonly referred to as a single audit. It's a compliance audit over your federal funds that are spent. So the federal government spells out what, if we pick a certain grant, and they also give us guidance on how we go through and pick the grants. Once those grants are picked for testing, they tell us what are the compliance requirements they want us to look at. So we have things like, is the cost allowable? Was it actually allowable in accordance with the grant? That's one of the requirements. Another one is reporting. Are we reporting to the federal government with how they're requiring us to? And does that reporting, is it done timely? So we have to go through and complete that on the federal grant expenditures. And as you can see here, we do issue a report or an opinion on that single audit. And we issued, again, an unmodified opinion. So both opinions that were issued are exactly the type of reports that the city wants to receive. And it's a good thing. That's exactly what you want to see. We will have some findings that we'll talk about in a few slides that were identified as part of our testing in that Yellow Book report and going through and testing internal controls. And we'll talk about those, like I said, in just a few moments. If we go to the next slide. The whole reason for this particular slide is to let you know how are the financial records being maintained. And so as auditors, we're to talk about if we have difficulties encountered in performing the audit. Now, we do have a few exceptions with some of the documentation that we'll talk about in the findings, but overall, we did not have any difficulties. When we asked for invoices or purchase orders or supporting documents for transactions, timesheets, etc., we're given that information in a timely manner. It's given to us in good order. So there's really nothing that we had to report as far as difficulties encountered in performing the audit. And again, the whole reason is just to say, give an indication to the council, how is the financial records, or how are the financial records being maintained? And like I said, we did not have any difficulties. There were a couple of processes that weren't completely followed, but we'll talk about that in a few moments with our findings. If we go to the next slide. This one I think is really important because, and again, the whole reason for this is just to let the council know and the committee know, how is your financial reporting mechanism and infrastructure working? If we as auditors are having to come in and make lots of adjustments, we need to let you know. The way the state of New Mexico has charged the city with adopting a budget and reporting to the
Well, if I
DFA,
put that, then.
But this happened.
Who was that?
You're required to put your reports to DFA maintain your records throughout the year is what we call a cash basis accounting. Cash basis accounting is not a part of our generally accepted accounting principles we call GAAP. So what has to happen is we've got to take how you report to the state. I shouldn't say we, your finance department has to go through and give us adjustments to convert those numbers from that methodology, how the state requires you to report to them, and basically the council's responsible for monitoring the budget on that basis. Adjustments have to be made so that we can give a clean opinion and get those financial statements on what we call modified accrual and also full accrual. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go over some slides. But bottom line, what this is trying to communicate, when we came in and did our audit procedures, we did not have any adjustments related to your cash basis accounting. And so I think that should give the council some comfort that transactions are being properly recorded and the infrastructure used to get you reports to monitor the budget is working. And so again, that's really the whole purpose for that communication. If we go to the next communication, we get into the findings. So during our testing, we had 7 findings, and as you can see, the last finding has a bracket. That finding was created the first time in 2022, so that was a repeat from the prior year. The other 6 are new findings this year, and we're going to have another slide talking about resolve findings. But I think it's really important that we talk about, you know, we're not seeing findings that are staying around year after year. Now, we did have one finding that repeated, but for the most part, findings from the prior year were resolved and dealt with during the current year. And we'll talk about those here in a moment. But the first finding we did have during this year is the zoo inventory. During our testing, it came to our attention that there were some animals that were given away to various members of the public that was done without any proper approval, going through council, going through anybody to be approved. It was just taken from, or not taken, but that department decided to give those animals away, and they did it without the proper approvals and controls to monitor that. So we just need to ensure that if we do get rid of animals in the future, that the proper approvals go through and take place. The next one is controls surrounding payroll. So it came to our attention that there were some timesheets that were falsified with inaccurate number. People were getting paid for hours that they didn't work. And so we just need to make sure and that the police, it was actually the police department, that they go through and scrutinize those payroll hours throughout the year and make sure that those are actually for valid hours that are being worked by the police throughout their department. The next one is police evidence. So in the financials, in your records, there is an amount recorded for a liability of evidence that is being held at the police station. However, there is really not a detailed listing and a reconciliation of that amount. And at year end, June 30th of 23, it was $114,000. So what needs to happen is going through that account, determining what is comprising that $114,000 so that a detailed list can be maintained over in the police department. The next finding is procurement with the UFO festival. During the UFO festival, proper procurement procedures weren't followed. There was a vendor for alcohol and food that did not go through the proper procedures, the procurement processes, in the amount of almost $35,000 that was dispersed to them without following the procurement code. And so we just need to make sure when those disbursements are happening that we're following procurement. The next one is controls again over procurement. There was about $110,000 that was spent to repair rail line that did not again go through the procurement process that should have, and therefore that expenditure was done without going through the proper approval and the proper processes. So again, we just need to make sure that those transactions are going, when they meet the over 60,000 that we're doing the proper controls, maybe an RFP. Those things need to happen, and that just didn't happen with this particular expenditure. The next finding is relating to collateral. In the state audit rule and in state law, the city is required to pledge, or I'm sorry, the banks that the city has their funds deposited in is required to pledge different amounts. And for the most part, your deposits need to be pledged at 50% of uninsured balances. So, for example, if you had $1 million at a local bank, you have FDIC coverage of 250,000. Therefore, they would have to cover 750,000, half of that. And so the pledged amount at one of the financial institutions was short by about 368,000. This is kind of an unfair finding because really that is the financial institution's job to ensure that they do that. That is checked on a monthly basis. You do get pledge statements throughout the year. And it just happened at year end that they just didn't have enough pledge collateral. And I think it was corrected fairly quick after year end, if I remember correctly. But again, the city is responsible to ensure that your financial institutions are going through and doing that. The last finding, this is the repeat. We had some issues where we're not getting the payments to the IRS in time, and there were some late fees in the amount of just under $50,000. Additionally, with ERISA administrative services, there were some late fees also amounting to about $17,000. So the city really needs to ensure that those reconciliations are happening, the right amounts are getting paid to both the IRS and ERISA, so that you don't have these late fees and fines. If we go to the next slide, and I kind of alluded to that. So as auditors, we are required to go through and look at prior findings, and we have to test controls or look at what controls have been implemented to ensure whether or not these findings need to be repeated. As I mentioned earlier, in the prior year, there were 7 findings, 6 of which internal controls had been implemented. And so based upon our testing, these 6 findings were resolved and removed from your audit during the FY23. So there were procedures that were implemented to ensure that these items were being corrected, and we did not have any exceptions as we went through and tested those transactions. That is all from the required communication. I have a few more slides with graphs, and if we go to the next one, it might be actually 2 away. Right here. I'm sorry, it's 1 up. These first 2 graphs, if we can go up 1 more slide. The other way, I'm sorry. There we go, perfect. The first 2 graphs that we're going to go through are what we call from the government-wide statement. So I had mentioned earlier that you report to DFA, you monitor your budgets on a cash basis. So when you look at your financial statements and you see your budgetary statements, those are on a cash basis of accounting. Those get converted to what we call modified accrual, and we'll talk about those in a few more slides. And then those numbers actually get converted again 1 more time to what we call full accrual accounting. So on these first 2 slides, this full accrual accounting, we include long-term assets, things like buildings, your capital assets. Those are actually included on the balance sheet as an asset. You have long-term liabilities, things like bonds and notes payable. Your compensated absences, again, those are shown as liabilities in these financial statements. And what happens is, if you look at the second bullet point, we have governmental activities and we have business type activities. So there are multiple funds. There's about 30 funds in the governmental activities that basically get pushed all together and get reported on the full accrual as 1 column. And then we have business type activities where all 3 of your enterprise funds get combined on this particular financial statement. So this particular financial statement is only 4 pages in your audit, but it is on that full accrual accounting methodology. So if we go to the next slide, with your governmental activities, when we take all your governmental funds, they get converted for all those full accrual things. The city ended up with 160 million in assets. There was 133 million in liabilities, leaving what we call net position of $27 million. So in essence, that 27 million is your equity on this basis of accounting, which increased about 7 million from the prior year. If we go to the next slide, this is your three enterprise funds, your business type activities. They ended up with 165 million in assets, 55 million in liabilities, and 110 million in net position. Again, it's the assets less the liabilities, which increased about 14 million from the prior year. So if we go to the next slide, the remaining slides are going to be on fund financial statements. And so on these particular financial statements, your activities, your funds, all 30 plus are actually in separate columns. And the basis of accounting that these activities are on are what we call modified accrual. And the example I like to give here is basically these are, if it's going to get into the checkbook close enough after year end, and that's typically designed or defined as 60 days, we're going to show that as an asset. So property taxes that are collected, GRT taxes that are collected within that 60-day period are shown as assets. Your long-term assets, such as capital assets, are not included in these sets of financial statements. What happens is, if you look at the very last section with revenues and expenses, when we buy capital assets, it's expended. It's shown as an expense. When we go through and we get debt, those things are shown as revenue. They're not shown as long-term liabilities. And so really this is kind of close to cash accounting, but it's just got a few little variances with how those amounts are treated. So it's closer to your budgetary basis than the figures that we just went over. So if we go to the next slide, I've got a few slides related to the general fund, which is really the city's operating fund. At the end of the year, you ended up with 29 million in assets, 4 million in liabilities, giving you fund balance, in this case is what we call it. It's the same thing, it's your equity of $25 million at the end of the year. And so that was up about 5 million from 2022, kind of getting close back to what the amounts were in 2021. If we go to the next slide, we've got a breakout of the components of what that general fund assets are. And as you can see here, the biggest component of your assets are cash and investments. That's 22.7 million. There's accounts receivable of 6.2 million, and then inventory and other small items are about $100,000. The increase with your assets, again, the biggest thing the biggest component you have is cash, and cash increased about 5.3 million, and then your accounts receivable increased about 1.2 million from the prior year. So you ended up with 6.5 million more in assets in 2023 versus 2022. If we go to the next slide, your liabilities, those stayed fairly consistent between the 2 years, but there's really kind of, they went up about 300,000, not a very big change. The largest change, there's a couple of things increased to a new standard that had to be implemented related to leases. I'm sorry, SABITAs. It says leases there, but it really should say software-based. So there's 1.5 million of new software-based information technology that you didn't have in the prior year. Again, this is a new standard. What offset that is your accrued payroll decreased about 1.1 million. In FY23, there was only 1 day of accrued payroll compared to a full payroll in FY22. So the liability there decreased about $1 million. So if we were to compare without that new standard, overall, your liabilities went down because there was less payroll that had to be accrued at year end. If we go to the next slide, we just have a pretty high level graph of of revenues. Your revenues decreased about 11.8 million, and that really was related to GRT. but I think decisions were made to allocate some of that GRT to other funds. So I think it's something that the committee should be aware of. So this was a decision. I mean, if you look overall at GRT citywide, it actually increased, but the amount that was left in the general fund did decrease because we allocated it out. The city allocated it out to other funds. If we go to the last slide, talking about expenses, they've really remained fairly consistent. The biggest increase there, overall, they increased about $1 million, and that really related to just general government. There was about $1 million increase in general government expenses during this year. But really overall, the expenses remain fairly consistent between 22 and 23. We go to the next slide. I'll open up to any questions.
Questions from members of the committee?
Yeah. Just on his revenue side, Chris, this is Ed Ellenbrand.
Hi, Ed.
How are you? My question
Good.
on your revenue, if you go back to your revenue line, of the $50 million you showed in 22, in the decrease, you had it moving back to 41 in 2023. Could that be related to ARPA funds?
No, I think that is 100% related to GRT only. And what happened is we've allocated, and I can't remember the amounts, but there's a couple of other funds that received that. Basically, the GRT was transferred to those funds and shown as revenue in those other funds, which was a decision, I'm pretty sure by council, to move those. If it wasn't council, it was this committee. So those funds were moved over to other funds. If you were to take GRT throughout all funds between 22 and 23, they're fairly consistent between the 2 years. There is an increase, but there's definitely not the decrease we're showing here. It's just because I'm taking a snapshot of the general fund only. If we were to take all funds, it remained, like I said, with a little bit of an increase.
Okay.
And I think what you would see is in 2022, all GRT came into general fund, and then we did transfers out of there. In 23, we didn't do that because Finance Committee chose that they didn't want to see that kind of transfers done. So we started allocating directly to roads, to recreation. Who else gets GRT? Roads, recreation, general fund, and the debt, some of the debt services. So instead of Chris being able to see it in here, it went directly to those other funds.
Okay, that answers. Thank you.
Enterprise.
Sure.
GRT does not go to enterprise.
Yeah. There's been some of that.
Huh?
There's been some GRT that got moved to enterprise funds. Depending on what's going on. So that might be, I can't recall.
There's been general fund money, not gross receipts tax money.
Thank you
Different.
for the clarification.
Yeah.
On the, when you split those up, the GRT, is there a percentage for each one?
Yes, it's based on each 1/16 that has passed, from ordinances and all of that. So.
And I passed out a sheet last meeting showing how that one was allocated out.
Oh, okay. I remember seeing.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you, counselors.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
make a motion to move to the consent agenda, adoption of resolution 24-XX.
It's got to have full city council.
We're going to change that to go into full council for 24-XX, approving the fiscal year 23 audit and corrective action plan. A second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Hearing none. All those opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. Moving on to item, I lost my cheat sheet here. There it is. Item number 2, we're gonna do some procurement for the Casey Park.
Mr. Chairman,
McCormick.
yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, committee members. What you have before you is recommended award of ITB 24011. Inclusive Park Phase 2A, advanced construction. So to give committee a little history, we originally did Phase 2, the prior phase in 2023. We opened bids in November 2023. We only got one bid. The totality of Phase 2 was significantly over budget. So with the recommendation of infrastructure committee, we split that into 2 pieces of work. 2A is the concrete structures part of that. 2B is the landscaping, irrigation work of installation, and bid them both separately. We received 2 bids back on Phase 2A, and 0 bids back on 2B. So for Phase 2A, we received 2 bids back. Abraham's Construction, $330,876, including GRT. Frosty Construction, $467,730.96. So we're recommending that award go to Abraham's Construction. This is funded by Capital Appropriation Grant number 22G2779. The total award amount of that grant is $853,500. That amount, $274,306.09 has already been obligated to Phase 1. So the remaining balance available to us is $509,193.91. Sam, question?
Yes, ma'am.
For B, are you going to put that out for bid again, or how do you plan to do that?
So 2B, again, we was bid once at a total phase. We got one significantly over budget bid. This time we got 0 bidders. We've reached out to several landscaping companies. Nobody seems interested. We did talk to Abraham's Construction since they were our recommended award for 2A. We asked them why they didn't submit a bid for 2B. They said the same thing. They couldn't find a landscaping subcontractor. They didn't indicate that they would potentially be willing to do it themselves with their own forces. So they're working on getting us a price for that. And we're continuing to beat the bushes trying to find somebody that would be interested.
Sir,
James, well, the bid that we rejected, how much do you recall what that bid was in total that we rejected?
Above $800,000.
800,000. So yeah, this is substantially less.
Correct.
Because you take out, after this, we'll have $250,000 left of the grant. So hopefully we can
Yes, sir.
get that rest of it put in. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Sure.
no other questions? What's your pleasure?
I'll move. Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend award of ITB 24-011 to Roswell All-Inclusive Park Phase 2A, Abraham's Construction Incorporated, the amount of $330,873.26, which includes ERT, to the consent agenda.
I second that motion. Okay. Now everybody get your 50. I've got a motion, second. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, any opposed, signify by saying aye. Hearing nothing, passes 5-0. Number 3. Oh, Mr. Glenn, this time.
Just our regular cleanup of stuff. We found a room out of the old armory that is full of junk. And I mean junk. What I would like your guys' permission to do is get rid of it and bring you guys the list of what we got rid of. If you're good with that. Most of it is old bookshelves for some reason. And if it has an inventory tag on it, then we will run it through the process, but the rest of it is truly junk with no value.
I noticed you have, on here, Exhibit A and B. Let's see, Exhibit A is this.
Underneath it. It's same page. Same page. You see the two lines? A and B.
Oh, right underneath it. Got you. Just one line, this Chevy Tahoe. Okay. That was in,
This one has a lot of junk on it too, so. As we're getting access to different rooms and different buildings, we're finding stuff.
and page 11 is,
That's just a list of some of the items that are listed on the first list.
and the asset numbers?
Yes,
Okay, got you.
that's mostly the computers that they have in the patrol cars that we all of a sudden found a big pile of. You don't want to move things because you move something and you find more stuff. And
It's like turning over rocks.
Any other questions? Okay, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Proceed.
I move that we put on the consent agenda approval of 2419 authorizing the disposal of certain surplus personal property.
Second.
So does this cover taking care of the junk
no, I'll bring that to you guys next month.
next month?
Yeah,
Okay.
that way I can tell you for sure what we got rid of, what we kept, that kind of stuff.
Well, we can maybe, is any of it metal?
Yes, and all that'll be recycled.
Okay. What item? Can we have a bonfire?
I think most of it's metal.
Oh,
There's some Chavez County stuff out there too that we're trying to decide what to do with.
See how the city is? Always taking all the county stuff.
sound like a plan. Okay.
More like they probably got dumped on.
They didn't want to pay the tipping fee.
Right.
Yeah, Abraham has that.
Okay,
So if you dispose of it with Abraham, send him a tipping fee.
okay. So if I got a motion to put it on the consent agenda, is that right?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none passes
Thank you.
5-0. Now we get to the EDC. Who's gonna go, Mr. Bullock or Mr. Espiritu? Okay.
Make a few short comments. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, before you get started, I have one thing to deal with. In legal committee, we made an amendment, and because we didn't get the stuff from the legal committee, we're gonna have to make that amendment in here and then pass it on. So that's the reason why I did my little discussion earlier about,
Chairman of legal?
huh? Well, the chairman of legal here, if he throws a fit, we'll just send it back to legal. He doesn't have enough work to do over there.
Exhibit B.
I know, I'm gonna refer to city attorney here to find out. It's all canned and done.
Yeah, they should have been, did it not? Yeah, put in the agenda correctly. We didn't put a bow on it.
The agenda was posted prior to the amended contract that I received. So the current contract is in the packet, but the amended contract didn't make it into the packet.
Mr. Chairman, I got a real issue here. With when things get done at a committee level that need to be associated with finance dollars, I don't understand your hard line of 2 weeks prior to your meeting, not allowing things to come on your agenda.
You were sitting here when I said things that come out of committees come on.
Well, and it should have come on.
I agree, but somehow.
But it's telling me, now you're telling me it didn't come on.
I'm not in control of the.
Approach of what happened was finance published the agenda for the correct version and uploaded.
Okay.
So what's printed on the agenda, legally speaking, the agenda is, that has to be printed on the Open Meetings Act is just that, what you guys vote on at the beginning. It's not the supplementary packet.
Correct.
So what you are voting on is what was referred to, what is being voted on per the agenda is what legal sent over.
So then it is on.
It is on, correct?
Would you understand? That's not what was said earlier, but
Well, I was handed this note, so
Well, and I got the note from them all, yes, so I don't know.
So which, did you make 5 copies?
I mean,
No, I just made the motion.
So yeah, it doesn't need to be a motion. It should be, it's just a correction to your packet.
well, I'm looking to see if it got in here or not. Where it was.
On the agenda that, or on the, let me show you. On the, agenda that was sent in, the abstract
Oh,
right
it's
here.
on, it's on.
This right here should have said, with amendments, should have said, legal committee approved this item 4-0 to be reviewed at finance committee with the proposed contract amendments, exhibit B, metrics E3, changing 10 to 20 and the word weekly to monthly. Is what that,
That was the amendment we did.
yes, at legal committee.
So what I guess is the agenda abstract is what needs,
Yes.
not a big deal. But because we were way late getting this agenda. Because of things that were going on with discussions primarily about this that we're going to get to here in a minute. So we were way late, just barely beating under the deadline of 2 o'clock on Monday to get this done. So many of you department heads, our legal counsel and our finance, our treasurer, they figure out how to get this communication within this building, and our clerk maybe, and double check each other. However y'all want to do it, that's way above my pay grade. So let's just try to clean up our act a little bit. So what is presented in the packet is correct.
The exception of the 2 words
Yes.
in exhibit B.
Yes.
Okay. Exhibit B. Tell us what they are so we can get it fixed.
So, in your packet, page 37, I'm sorry. 37. Exhibit B metrics. If you look at E3, in that paragraph, metrics and proof of performance for plan of action to include contact with 10 will be replaced with 20. Countywide businesses, weekly will be replaced with monthly.
Okay.
And those are the only 2 changes.
Got to get this done, guys, sorry. So on page 37, in the middle portion of the document, under E3, or 3 I's, as it's shown up here, that first line needs to change the 10 to 20. And the second line about the 4th word in changes from weekly to monthly. Okay, let's get it amended first, just to cover our bases.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to amend the document and with on page 37, E3, and where it says action include contact with 10, make that 20 countywide businesses, and instead of weekly, it'll be monthly.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any other comments on this amendment? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, now, excuse the interruption, gentlemen. Mr. Bullock, I think you're your partner in crime pointed at you. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilors, thank you for giving us a moment to share with you on our request and talk to you about what we're doing at the greatly appreciated. For those in legal, you'll hear in some of the same things, but I appreciate your support, passing that through legal. And there's a lot of moving parts in this machine, and I appreciate all of you who take part in making it happen. So thank you very much. At the EDC, I'm serving as the chair and representing the board of directors at the EDC. And I like to say that our job is that we help individuals and businesses grow, build, and expand business in Roswell and Chaves County. That's what we do. And the team that we've got is doing a superb job, splendid job, and we couldn't be more grateful for their daily work to make that happen. I want to give you a few highlights on what we've done this last year and what we plan to do with our funding requests for this next fiscal year. I always start with, we have three major funding sources: the city, the county, and our growing membership. And to that end, I believe it's our job to be accountable to those three sources, that we are giving them a return on what they're investing and believing in us. And that's what I want to share with you this morning or this afternoon, that we're doing that very thing for the city amongst the other two. Some quick highlights from this last year. Some of them you already know. The big news, you've seen all the signs, and people have been asking you probably daily. They've been asking me daily about the Reno air races. Where are we at with that? What's happening? Our team has been very involved with that, as you know, for the last over a year. I have no news for you today. We sit on the edge of our seats, but we are still amongst the top three finalists, and have forged a number of really fantastic connections because of that work. See where to date, our organization has spent nearly $100,000 chasing that RFP and the process through that. That money did not come from the city. It came from our membership, who believed in this and earmarked this over a year ago because we believed in this project and we believed what it could do for Roswell and for Chaves County. The county did offer us $50,000 in special funding through that, which has helped further that project along. But we started that because we believed and we saw the vision of something really big. And as many of you know who've been part of that, it has brought a lot of people together and work together for something great for this community. And I hope in the next few weeks that we can make a big announcement and celebrate together on that. As you might also know about the bus plant, which is becoming BuiltWise Industries' hub to build affordable housing here in Roswell for the entire area. Over 300 jobs estimated at that bus plant in the next few years. Major deal for us and the families that are going to be affected by the job opportunities that come with that. Our team is still working on that project, connecting the workforce with those employers. And of course, from that project, we expect periphery projects. Local suppliers and businesses have already started working with that company, which is just increasing economic activity here in Roswell and in Chaves County. I also want to share with you just another slice of what we do. It's a slice of what we do, and it has a major impact for our existing businesses here in Roswell. And that's JTIP funding. JTIP is state level funding that's granted to businesses to help them bring in new positions and to what they call step up program, which is take existing employees, give them funding for training, and then help fund those positions to get them higher wages. So we advocate on behalf of local businesses funding at the state level. And we're told that in New Mexico, we lead all of the rural counties in JTIP awards and funding across the state, and we have for quite some time. And I give a lot of credit to this man right here for that, who works with these companies to get them the grants, get them the information, and then advocate up to Santa Fe for that. In this last year alone, we have helped a number of companies. I'm just going to give you the snapshot. Over 190 jobs have been created as a result of JTIP funding. An additional 40 jobs through what they call the Step Up program. So existing jobs that then became higher wage jobs as a result of training. Over what we estimate on a conservative basis that ends up being about $49 million of economic impact in Roswell and Chaves County just this last year alone. And as I said at legal, if the city itself just even saw 1% of that economic activity, that's $490,000 that comes back to the city through job growth and job creation. And this is just one piece of the pie, what the team at the EDC has been doing for the last year and what we expect to be doing in the months to come. So we're here to advocate for funding for this next year, $200,000, which was a funding level that we had previously. And I, on behalf of the board, I'm here to say we want to partner with the city and the county and our members to continue doing the great work to build, grow, and expand business in Roswell and Chaves County to help people have great lives, have great jobs. At the end of the day, these jobs that we're creating, think about the families that sit around tables and put backpacks on their kids' backs and eat at restaurants and have a life that they love here in Roswell. And that's what excites me at what we do. And in the next year, we want to continue this momentum. We've done some pretty big projects this last year, some big public projects. And to that end, I believe we've set a pretty high bar for ourselves. And that's the bar that we want to keep vaulting over this next year as a baseline, if you know what I'm saying there. We want to continue to raise the bar of service to businesses, to the county, to the city, and to our membership. We've got a lot of work cut out for us. Career Tech education is a major piece of that. Investing in connecting our students and local workforce with businesses through education to get them in these industry jobs and well-paying jobs and give people not just a good living wage, but a very fruitful wage. And that means that we all rise together in Chaves County and Roswell. That's what our goal is. I'm going to turn a little bit of this over to Mike for any additional comments, but on behalf of the board of directors, I thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk to you. Stand for your questions, and thank you for your continued support. We really appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, councilors, good afternoon. So Kyle's pretty much everything. You're going to hear a lot of next week at the commission meeting, at your council meeting during our annual report. But to highlight just a couple of things I think are pretty significant. The United States Navy comes here every year for training. You all know that. They come in the spring. They come for about 6 weeks. The EDC, we fund and host them at a reception. And this last year, I won't tell you how much it cost, but it's a lot more than I thought it would cost. But the point is this. They're appreciative of being here in Roswell. They want to keep coming back because they feel welcome in Roswell. They're making a large economic dent in our community with their hotels and restaurants and so on. But more importantly, we also talked about the potential of another wing from a different naval institution coming in the fall to do training. So that's a good piece. And that's a result of our continued work with the Navy and their efforts here at our Air Center. So we look forward to that. You recall that we had this big boon here back in September, and the Alpha 5 world record jumped from 38,000 plus feet. Why are we involved? Well, because we were asked by that group to help collaborate and create the connections in our community, which we did with Mike Matthews and the great team on the Birchie side on the city and the county. They helped make that event happen without a hitch. And a lot of folks, and many of you were there, took some great pictures. And more importantly, it showcased further our community. We use that also as part of the data points for our proposal to air races. I attend several things throughout the year, linking us to the potential of recruiting new companies. You'll hear next Thursday night, as a refresher, that our primary market is aviation, aerospace, and defense, number one. And because of our wonderful jewel called the Roswell Air Center. We'll continue to do that. We do a lot of advertising about the Air Center in a lot of trade magazines. We spend in our budget about $20,000 every year just in advertising to make people aware, because people don't always know. They've heard of Roswell for the obvious reasons, but they don't have heard of Roswell before doing business. That's our job in EDC, is how we can promote and educate and coach people about who we are and why they should come here to do business. You obviously know about the different things that have happened this year. Reno Air Races, we've been in that well over a year, and it's been quite a roller coaster ride. And hopefully this month we'll hear an announcement of some type, and whether we are selected or not, Mr. Chairman, I think we as a community, we learned a lot about ourselves. And it brought a lot of people together, and people started working together, and it was really a good piece. Plus just the notoriety, because we still have people today tell me, hey, you are a finalist in their air races. And so it's a good thing for people to be aware of who we are. We also do business seminars, and you probably don't know that. Back to our workforce piece, we do workforce as part of our major programs, and we work with NIMI, we work with all our high schools throughout the county, and we put on workforce seminars for local business people. We had 3 already. We have 1 more scheduled in next month, and it's all about bringing workforce solutions to local business people. And not to belabor anymore, because you got other stuff to think about, but I do want to share with you that we did have a clean audit again, as we have every year since, I can't speak before me, but since I've been here, we've had a clean audit. You have a copy already here in the city. We also provided our annual notarized statement, Mr. Chairman, about complying with Section 8B of our agreement about fire and building codes and what have you. That's already completed year as normal. And more importantly, we are reaccredited as a New Mexico State certified economic development organization in New Mexico. And we're one of a few communities, not every community in the state is. Kyle mentioned the JTIP piece, that we're leading the state as a rural community. By the way, overall, with all the large cities, we're number 3. So last year, over $2.5 million awarded back to community to build to businesses right here in Roswell to reimburse them for their training costs. That's a big number, and that's a lot of great benefit, and that helps create those jobs, not only for today, for tomorrow. We are doing the same process currently with BuiltWise for the modular housing piece. We'll do that with other companies, and we have another site visit next week with another MRO company. More to follow. It's preliminary. I met with them at the MRO conference, and then you're fully aware of the work that we've been doing with some of the other tenants out of the Air Center and helping them grow and develop and hopefully create more jobs. I'm on the Eastern Area Workforce Development Board on the youth committee. And why is that? Because it's all about workforce. I also sit on the State Economic Developers Board of Directors. I have for a number of years. I used to be the past chairman for a few times. And I'm on the Airport Advisory Commission because it's so important and vital to who we are. And by the way, Bud Kunkel will not be here at your next meeting. And I will be providing a brief summary. I'm not going to make very long. You got a long meeting next week. He's on vacation and seeing family. We're also involved with the Main Street Board. We're involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm serve on the board. And I also personally serve on the Eastern New Mexico Hospital Regional Medical Centers Board of Directors. In fact, I'm their chairman currently. So you can see we're engaged in a lot of different things. And it's not just creating jobs, but it's building a better community for the people that live here, and especially for those that we're attracting and recruiting to come to Roswell. We stand for your questions, Mr. Chairman, councilors.
Before we go to questions, there's a couple of things that I think need to be highlighted. I want to thank personally, and I thank for everybody, all the councilors sitting at the table, for your finding the opportunity to bring the air races, and everybody's calling it rah-rah, but it's really NCAR, National Championship Air Races. But I thank you for that. And I thank Mr. Bullock and his board for stepping up to the plate and funding the endeavor up to this point. And not only is it excited to people in Roswell, we all get questions from people on the street, people that we're having meetings with, lunch, whatever. But I've got a group of people that I know in Hobbs and Artesia and Carlsbad that call me on a regular basis. Have you heard about there? So I've even got a group of people, I think there's an instigator up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, that regularly checks in saying, when they're air races, when are they air races? And so the excitement is not just in this community, it's a region deal and it's catching fire in the state. And I appreciate your efforts at stepping up to the plate. Okay, questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
Mike, so last year, city funded 150,000. And what was the county's? I know they did the extra 50,000. What was the original, the 150,000 from the county?
Mr. Chairman, Councilor, that's correct. They funded us at 150,000 with a caveat that if we had a special project, they would bring more money to the table, as they have in years past.
Right.
And this year they did that. They brought additional 50,000 to bring us up to 200. The year before, sir, Mr. Chairman, with the city, we were at 200,000. So I know that last year, because of the budget challenges you were facing, was a reason we were reduced to 150. And we certainly respect that decision. But as you know, these things, to do what we do takes funding. And we have increased our membership, but more importantly, maybe not in numbers, we have, but not in big numbers of members, but in dollars. And that's because we have aggressively worked with our existing members, and they've raised their membership level with us, provides even more funding in the future. So we're pretty pleased about how that, we have a membership committee that does just that.
So would it be reasonable to follow the path of the county and for the city to commit another 150,000 with that caveat of 50 for a special project?
Mr. Chairman, Councilor, sure. We did present at the county, and our request was for the same for 200. Indications are we'll probably receive that from the county, and we are hopeful that you'll do the same, if you will, Mr. Chairman, here in this here in the city of Roswell. But if you would like, Mr. Chairman, if the council would like to give us a 50 on top of the 200, we'd be pretty happy with that.
I just don't think we're quite out of that hole that we, got ourselves in. But I do know, and I do appreciate I've been with you guys for a long time, and I've seen the hard work that happens with the EDC, and I can't say enough great things about what Mike, you've done since you've come to Roswell, Chatham County to clean up and to get us in really great positions for the growth of Roswell and Chatham County. So I'm not making those comments just to try and lowball you, but we do still have to try and get ourselves out of that hole we're in. And I think with well built, I think the Reno Air Race has come. Man, it's going to be big, and we're going to be in really a whole lot better position to take care of these types of things. So thank you guys.
Mr. Chairman, Council, if I may add that we did have this new MRO I'm talking about is because of the Reno Air Races. I met them at the MRO show. I had individuals that some of us know introduced me to this company, and they want to be part of that. And we talked about RV park, did a lot of stuff we're due to that, as well as a new business operation in Roswell, as a result of hearing about NCAR and RAW.
Councilor Lady Hill.
Perfect. Yeah, I shaved my leg.
We're the same color.
Thanks for the comment. The Air Force 509 Air Refueling Squadron comes every 6 months to train. I don't know if you're aware of that. This coming up from Jessica, I don't know how much notice they actually let people know. Jim. Yeah, but so it'd be nice to throw a reception for 8 years now. Yeah, 6 months. And they're not to the extent of the size of the Navy, but it'd be nice to.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Councilor, absolutely. I'm an Air Force guy, so absolutely. We'll work together on what.
They even tell me training's gonna be over. I don't know when they're coming. It's Yeah, it'd just be nice. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then another item I had is the same page. We did page 37 before. You have 3 facade grants annually. Is that tying your hands? Because how many have you done?
This year we've only done one, and it's still in progress. We planned for 3.
But if they don't apply.
If they don't apply, there's nothing I can do about it. And that's an excellent point because I have a young lady, Kristen Chappell. I think you know her. That's what she does. She's our BRE person, our business development. And, we can only give them the information and encourage them, but kind of like leading that horse to water, right?
Because the grants are not 100%, 50-50 match, right?
That's correct.
So the businesses don't have the 50%, so they don't apply. I just don't want to tie your hands, require you to do 3 facade grants if you're not even getting the applications for 3 facade grants.
Mr. Chairman, Counselor, that's a really good point. But one thing too, in addition to your comment, is at our board level, we've talked about if we go above 2 or 3, we will pull more money out of our savings account and fund those. So we're not going to stop at a number if we have the applicant.
Yeah.
I think that's an important distinction. We're not going to say, the well's cut off. We're going to continue to fund those as needed. We talked to a lot of folks about that, but you're right. The match is an issue. Getting bids by a qualified builder that's registered with the city of Roswell, that's also an issue. So because we want to make sure whatever work they do reflects properly on us and the city. And so.
Well, I just don't want you to come for funding next year and they'll say, what was your 3 facade grant? Like,
Mr. Chairman, Counselor, it'd be great if the wording was changed to something that's not so concrete that we will do 3. I mean, I will do 5 if we can. I
just know that the businesses aren't applying because they're not applying. I don't want to, hold your back to the wall.
I'd say of course, that's at the pleasure of the council for that. But on behalf of the board, we talk on a regular basis about the facade grant and amongst other things. And like Mike said, we remain committed to our businesses. We just want to give money away. And so I hope the problem we have is that we've had too many applications and we can't fund them all. And again, we would happily dip into our reserves to do that because of the value of that. So share information about about the grant. It's very, very powerful. We want to remain committed to doing it to the extent that we can get that in.
And Mr. Chairman, Counselor, it's on our website. The process is not difficult. We run through it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I know Main Street publicizes it all and people just don't. And so how can you change that? Wording, not to basically word it where they would at least try to do facade grants, but not tie their hands to 3.
So let me ask a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
The EDC's feet have not been held to the fire if they haven't done 3.
But if we're not here.
Well, but my point is that in sitting on the EDC executive committee, we do when people apply, and that's just exactly what you guys said. And so I think it comes back. If you haven't done 3, you did 2 or you did 1 or whatever. I don't think there's anybody in this city council or the former city council that were taking issue with you on that, were there?
Mr. Chairman, Counselor, no. However, but it does make it sound that we must do 3. But no, we have not had any pushback from the council, Mr. Chairman, Counselor. It's just, it's just one of them deals.
If you want to make that change, I would say it's at the pleasure of this committee or council. We remain committed to doing it. It's going to be in our budget. It's going to be in our incentive. So,
but you can't control if people don't apply.
Correct. We can knock on a lot of doors and let people know. But that change that's going to be at your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, Council, thank you so much for that. That's important. I think the one that we have in progress now, we're now probably in month 7 of trying to get it to the finish line. We've already proved it.
Yeah.
We're waiting them to do the work and then we can announce it. We're waiting on the business. We're at the mercy of the businesses.
Yeah.
But we're
actually. Well, that's why I was worried about the 3 because I know how hard it is to get the business to supply. Doing 3 in 1 year is reaching for the sky.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Council, actually, the change, the amendment you just had earlier about the 10 to 20, because it was 40, And this all happened, Mike's numbers, by the way. And these were Mike's numbers 3 years ago, because we were getting facade grant applications and we were approving every one of them. And we thought that would continue. But what has happened, obviously, was this thing called COVID, right? And people now look more towards free money without matching, no loans, but grants, pure grants. And of course, this policy for this program has been before my term, and the board's always approved it. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about how can we best serve our community, and especially our small business community, because they've already invested in Roswell. They created jobs. They spent a lot of money. They're paying folks their salaries. They're doing a lot of good things, and we just want to help support them every way we can. So thank you for that. That's appreciated.
Do you have some language you want to?
Well, that's why would you just,
I don't really think that change is needed. I mean, only something that they can do more, and if they don't get that because of impossibility, that's standard with any contract.
So just leave it alone.
okay, I'm fine with that.
That's what I thought too. Okay. Any other questions, these gentlemen? Okay. What's your pleasure?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to consider recommendation to approve the Roswell Chavez County Economic Development Corporation funding request to City Council in the amount of $200,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Hearing none, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Come on, we get a little more excited.
Rah, rah.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So moving on. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We've got minutes is next.
What you guys do?
Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it. Let's go back to work now.
Mr. Chairman, you looking for a motion?
Yeah, well, something.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of the April 4th, 2024 regular finance committee meeting.
Got a motion and a second. Any additions or corrections? Anybody see? Okay. So got a motion for approval of the minutes. All those opposed, say aye. You're opposed. Oh, opposed. Got the vote for?
I'm going to go to that.
No, I'm not opposed.
Okay, 5-0. You gotta pay attention.
Yeah, could you pitch them up every now and then?
I think you do that by design.
I do. It's called
And I'm trying to multitask.
Your committee.
I'm trying to multitask in these curveballs, and I can't hit the curveball.
Well, that's the only fun I get in here.
You're a chaos creator.
That's what it says. Moving on to department report. Starting on page 54, we're going to talk to our finance team and let them lead on.
All right, for gross receipts tax for April, we received $4,213,352 compared to what was budgeted of $3,181,064. So we were $1 million over budget for gross receipts tax for what we received this month. And overall, we're at 19.82% over what we budgeted.
Yes, sir.
Could you go back to that slide, please? How much of that GRT was the public safety fund?
That's what I was wondering.
Is that included? That's included in that number, is it not? Because that's really not a GRT for us.
No. I don't remember.
I would also point out to the committee that would include the $2.1 million increase we got.
Then we go back in.
Yeah. Oh, for the ambulance.
No.
It's an adjustment.
It was an adjustment It's in January.
Food tax.
From filing, food tax. There were some anomalies in our, however they were tracking that. I don't know exactly what happened, but that's just one-time shot. Don't count on that for recurring monies.
Well, how much of that is actually caused by inflation because people are spending more because everything costs so much?
The 2.1 million that we received is from 3 businesses here in town that were not reporting correctly on the food. And so they made them go back and redo their returns for 2 years.
Now, see, that's what, you can't call it recurring because it's over a 2-year period. We'll see a portion of that as we continue on, but don't think it's 2.1 is the right amount.
We don't even know how many cents.
No, yeah.
658,000 is the.
How much?
658.
For the month.
For the month.
And what is it combined? Do you have because the previous month, so we have 685 for the month of April.
1,329,000.
How much?
1,329,000.
1,329,000 combined for 2 months. So I just don't want people to get confused when they see the big increase in gross receipts that we're just got lots of money coming in. It's already committed. So could we in the future see a breakout of that?
Yes.
So that we just see how that
Yes.
public safety money is accumulating.
Do you want to see that quarterly or do you want to see it monthly?
Well, I think monthly will be helpful because as you're preparing this so that we can see it, so we can see what a real true GRT is.
Okay.
You can do it as a sidebar. I don't care as long as we can know that there's a separation.
Okay.
You do that. Thank you. Because then our real GRT for the month is a little over $4 million. You take out 685 out of 4773. So
400,000.
with 4773. No, I'm sorry, 42. I'm looking at the previous one.
42,
Yeah. So how much we need to increase, Mr. Chairman?
No, it clarifies the picture and anything we can do to clarify the pictures and everything.
Itemizing, just get a clear snapshot of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's real easy to start comparing apples to oranges, but we need to keep the apples and the apple crate, the oranges and the orange crate.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's not a difficult thing to do.
I can do that.
You got that, huh?
I got it.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay.
There's the graphs how we compare to 22, 23, and 24, and then actual versus budgeted.
And you can see easily where that spike is in January. The one-time money was right there.
Any questions? Okay, on cannabis, we received 31,409, which was $6,800 over the 24,000 that was budgeted.
Any questions on the cannabis tax? Okay.
It's not too big. It doesn't move the needle anywhere for us.
No, not even move. Okay, let's talk about lodger's tax.
Mr. Chair and council members, this is a lodger's tax update. February activity reported in March. All hotels reported on time. And our STAR data shows that we've had a 65.8% occupancy and our average daily change is up 7.2% from last year. Our 5% lodger's tax, again, this is February's activity remitted in March. Our occupancy was at 60.3% and we collected $110,577. Our bed fee occupancy again was 60.3% and we collected $58,575. Any questions?
Just an observation, I didn't look at it. United States,
Well, Canada?
it's a $1,300,000, it's gonna move.
Did we address the Airbnb if they're paying their?
We are currently, I am getting the list together. I just was able to get in yesterday to the site, the GovOS site that we do have. And I am starting to compile a list of all of that information to work with Hess on.
Mechanism to.
Correct. There are quite a few Airbnbs that are not reporting.
Not reporting, plus, is that
to that list.
your vacancy? I mean, knowing whether the occupancy is going up or down?
No, all of that's based on the STAR data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see.
And that's what she's doing, is trying to get a whole list, so we know who's.
Good luck with that one.
Right.
That's good.
Just an observation. I was sharing with council, with the chair here, that if you look at the lodging tax for the year 22, we were $1,356,000. And 23, we were $1,342,000. And right now we're tracking 1.4. We know room rates are up.
Mhm.
It just doesn't quite track right in the general overall math. Because your occupancy, like you said, have not dropped down that much. Just an observation. I don't know how you audit that. But
Well, and I think part of it's a little deceiving because they're using the STAR data and not all of them are on STAR data. So we're collecting money from hotels that are not part of STAR. The Airbnbs aren't, so it looks weird. And that's why she's trying to gather a list.
that number should be at least equate to what room rates have risen, because your occupancy rates have not.
Good question.
Not dramatically.
You have a copy of what she's showing? Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Not in our, it's not in our.
It should,
Page 68.
68, 59.
Come back, Sando. Mr. Cannon.
Oh, let's see. Sorry.
It's following the other.
Mr. Chair, what do other communities do to track this data and confirm? Do we know?
No, just call them. Find out.
Yeah. You just look at the correlation of numbers, and it's just like, somebody's not reporting everything here. Yeah. Because your occupancy rate's where it's at.
Well, and we do a yearly audit on lodgers tax. Chris is in the process of finishing the audit for 23 of lodgers tax. So we pick 3 hotels, and we normally try to pick hotels that we've had an issue collecting money from, or some of the motels that aren't part of STAR, to see if there's any variation there. But they're just now starting the 23 audit, so.
It'd be interesting to see what we hear from that.
I heard the answer is geofencing. To be able to track that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I agree with you. It doesn't jive.
It just doesn't seem right.
Called Placer AI. I can look, I can figure out how to use that also to track and see. Is it, it's like a geo tracker. It tells us like the number of bodies in the area. We do have access to that. I can look and see if we can find
That might be an important data point.
Especially with the popularity of the Airbnbs, just, I mean, skyrocketing right now. That's a lot of data in there. And of course.
Yeah, we're having trouble keeping track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real problem.
Without having someone probably sit there and search every
We got our best men
Airbnb.
around though.
That's labor intensive.
We can't be the only community.
Yeah, what Airbnb.
Yeah. And which is probably nothing.
Well, could you pass an ordinance, and I don't know if it'd make a difference for Airbnb, that requires Airbnb to give us, because Airbnb knows who their Airbnb people are. Can't we require them to give us that information?
I would say legal effect. We don't have jurisdiction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, okay.
Is it not Airbnb who remits to us, is it not?
They do not. So
They don't.
Airbnb does collect Airbnb fees, but they, as far as I know, we've looked and they have reported that to the city.
So they don't, they're not paying.
Because
And there are several short-term rental Airbnb owners that do pay because we are not receiving that Airbnb money.
Are we aware of any litigation against Airbnb? This could be a general class action.
No, we're not the only community that thinks.
Yeah, we should have authorities to file that suit. Yeah, what happened to me is like it's fraud against the landowner. Collecting taxes, we have to not remitting money. And the landowner is still liable to the tax. Because the only way we have to go after people for not paying is to clean their property, the landowner. So it would, the AG's office would have to take that
They're
A lot of
underneath,
minutia there.
they're underground a little bit. Maybe a lot.
Maybe a nationwide class action.
Why the popularity is growing, huh?
Yeah, they get an extra.
Really well.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
They get an extra, whatever the percentage is in the community coming in,
Every community, I'm not paying it.
you know, putting another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, percent on your bottom line goes directly to your bottom line.
Yeah.
Because you've got the cash.
Interesting.
I'll keep working on my Airbnb.
Okay, anything else on the? Okay. Item number 8, what do we got?
And it's the information about the outside city limit customers. And I believe on the abstract, it has all the numbers that you requested. And I did do a little bit of research to try and find out why we were charging that. And the only answer I can get from anybody is because that's what we've always done.
I pulled that ordinance. And it was done back in the 90s. And I also had, I didn't bring those documents with me, the minutes, and no justification at all that I saw in the minutes, because I've gone through that stuff.
Chairman,
Yeah.
somebody requests city water and they're 10 miles from a connection. What kind of liability does that pose for the city though?
We set a meter at where our final connection is, and they have to come to us.
Okay, so they come to us, then we now own the infrastructure?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
That kind of is a case by case.
Whether we want it or not.
If it's in the city, then yes, we would end up taking it over. If it's not in the city, we've got one of those out here north of town that they chose to put the infrastructure in up to city specifications, and then we took it over.
That's where we take responsibilities right at the main line. See, that's where we set the meter, anything from the meter, that way it's the responsibility.
If they want to put it into city specs, then we'll take it over. But that's usually where they don't want to spend that amount of money.
For the infrastructure?
Yes.
And the meter is, of course, right there. And if somebody in between point A and point B want to tap into it, then we relocate the meter?
There, but they have.
Not if we don't own the line.
that's kind of a private thing between
Okay,
those, if the line's big enough and they want to do that, sure.
okay,
I'll put a meter anywhere and I'll sell water to anybody.
exactly. Was where I was going with that, so.
So when Robert.
I would start making just a.
But just the instruments out there, they pay for all of the infrastructure. They pay to set the meters and everything, and then we assume they built it up to city specs, and then we assume responsibility after it's approved. We had our engineers follow up, do an inspection, make sure doing it to spec. We were out there all checking up on it. So that's why if they do all of that, then we did assume it.
Passes your certain criteria.
Yes.
Meeting specs.
Yep.
Now, there's some of these entities that are using our water that we don't own the line. They're not up to city spec. So is that correct?
That's correct. Up on, for example, we have 3 meters up on Ringo. And that's, they ran their own pipeline to the neighborhoods out there. And we just, once again, that's a metered line. That's the difference. If we assume the entire main line because it's not a metered line, then that will assume responsibility of that. These are different where they tied on the 4-inch meters, they tied on the end of the meter, and then so they assume responsibility that way.
Because if it's not up to city specs, then I can't say that it's not gonna leak and all that kind of stuff. So the meter will be on our side of the mess, not their side.
Not their side.
Also, Mike brought a good point. We have Bottomless Lakes that has a meter right across from the Roswell test facility, and then they have miles and miles of 4-inch line going out that they have leaks on going out of Bottomless Lakes, which is also their responsibility from the meter all the way back to the lakes.
Trying to find a leak in that one.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually working with them right now to try and find some stuff.
Correct it. I just want to ensure that the city has no liability. I mean, if we were to put it at the same rate as city personnel, that there's no increased cost burdened to the city. And I'm not sure if I'm seeing any.
Well,
I mean, I'm not sure I'm seeing any unless you guys have a testimony otherwise.
I do not. I mean, you're talking about extending infrastructure into the county to just feed one person once water or something. We're not going to extend our city infrastructure to, they'll have to come up.
All cost is burdened on the requester.
It is, and also they have to get all the proper easements, right of ways, whatever, to be able to run their infrastructure.
So I'm not sure I see,
County roads.
I'm not sure I see.
So what it used to be
liability to the
is
city
we used to have to send meters out. And, there was, if you go clear back, the basic premise for charging people outside the city for more is because they don't pay city property tax.
I think in some of the others.
But where we already pay indirect costs, that's already being recouped. So there's really nothing, there's nothing there. There really isn't.
Maybe a little gas.
And they're still paying into the growth fees.
And they're all
stuff back. County residents still part of it.
You've answered my question. I'm good.
Well, you said that the highest you've seen that it's like 125%.
That's what I'm used to is 125 to 100, maybe 150, but
We're at 200.
200 was kind of a shocker.
Well, if we went a quarter more, I mean, if you're talking about, say, for instance, the Riverview Circle where Greg and them live, I mean, they built in those lines back 20 years ago. It cost them $200,000. Today, if we had to go work on those lines, because for whatever reason.
But we don't own those lines.
But we don't work.
Yeah, we don't have to work on the lines.
But we haven't assumed those?
No.
So if we do, okay, well, I mean,
If there's a problem out there and
That's all it is.
our responsibility is to go out and shut off the water. And we don't turn it back on until they get the problem.
I got department.
Well, it's back to my point.
Finance, I didn't get any.
We don't know, I don't know. I don't have a good feel for those that are met our spec and those that haven't. And we need to have that information before we really pursue this down the road, in my opinion, because some people, it's just a line, some people we own the line, they built it in and we took it all the way to their house. Well, or to the meter that's in front of their house. So there's a hodgepodge, patchwork, if you will, out there, and I'm not sure.
But there really is there an inventory of the lines we own versus the lines they are?
I don't think we have a good one, but it comes right down to where the meter's placed.
Yeah.
You know, we're responsible to the meter.
To the meter.
So anything past the meter,
Anything past the meter, that's on there.
anything, anywhere, anything past the meter is the customer's responsibility.
Gotcha.
At some point, sorry, Mr. Chairman, do you, like, if they have huge increase in their water, like Bottomless Lakes, it's leaking, at some point, do you just say, we're cutting you off, do you fix the problem because you're wasting so much water?
And that's one of the things that we kind of walked. We had that problem with that one up off of Pine Lodge.
Little subdivision built out there to the back, right out where it curves off to the old Clovis Highway back there. There's it's like 700 East Pine Lodge. They have their own little subdivision back there, and they had a leak, and we worked with them.
You know, we fought back and forth, and you know, it's
But back there,
Like, we're not going to give you water if you just keep letting it
the thing
leak.
is, you know, but they're still our customers.
Yeah.
So we went out there and helped them find it, and then they had to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, well, that's.
So if they're not doing anything.
If they're not going to do anything about it, I'm just going to shut them off.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mr. Hildebrand.
Yeah, a question. How many residential customers do we have is located outside the city? You know that?
It was on there, but I cut it off.
Let's see. Let's see that.
Don't hold me to it, but it's like 250 some.
250 some residentials.
Yes.
How many small commercials?
Less.
Less than. Is this a less than or greater than?
Less than 250. I couldn't tell you that one.
So, and then how many large commercials?
There's only like, it was under 10. So it's really not.
Okay, so let me understand your numbers here. So if we keep the residentials at double rate under the new rate structure, you're saying their rate will be $281,000 collectively for a year?
Yes.
To the city versus inside at the same rate would be $152,000, correct?
Correct.
So I just want to make sure I'm reading this all, and it's $171,000. So based upon your numbers here, if we do the double rate, we're 4,200,000,
correct,
2,100,000, and 2,600,000.
Yes. And the red number underneath
is the difference between
off
the double rate.
Yes.
Okay.
So quick question before I have to go. So Mountain View Middle School District is in a little bit of a conundrum because they're trying to figure out whether they're going to go ahead and build their new school at the Mountain View site or move inside the city. But they had us, or they paid for us to build water line out to the school that they haven't ever hooked up because they're worried about it blowing out their lines because they're old lines. But if they do build a new school out there, I'm sure they will hook up to the city. Now, are they going to be paying the 200%?
Yes.
that would be your big commercial right there with the middle school. I mean, that would be.
You know, even the people out here that put in their own infrastructure and everything and then turned it over to us, they still pay double rate.
And Mr. Chair, just to clarify, my understanding is that would not blow out their lines. It's as simple as a reduction. I just want to make sure we've got media in the room. I want to clarify.
But at this point,
It's not true.
It's not a true statement.
It's not a true statement. It's an excuse.
We can install a PRV, a pressure reducing valve to lower the pressure, so they can still have access to that.
But since we don't have meter readers or anything, there's really no reason to charge anybody double.
I can tell you, we don't have an extra expense on these outside the city.
Provide one.
Yeah.
But they'd be happy if we only charged them 125% instead of 200%. So like,
We'd be happy if we didn't charge them anything extra.
You know, when it comes right down to it, treating our customers, because they're still buying our water. They're our customer.
They have no alternative.
Really, they're already paying the indirect costs because that's built into the base rate.
Property taxes has nothing to do with enterprise, has nothing to do with it. So when people make that argument that, well, they don't pay any property taxes, that has got,
well,
that's no
That
foundation.
didn't even show up in the minutes that I reviewed.
But that premise is
That came from verbally from.
that premise comes back when you're not paying those indirect costs like we specifically do.
well, Mr. Chairman, you did the research on this. Any reason why that you found that?
Well, there are two people that are still alive that voted for this, or voted on this issue. I contacted one of them, and he didn't have immediate reflection, so we talked for a while. And then he said, I think somebody just came up with that number, and we just voted for it.
And everybody was all right with it.
Obviously, it passed.
Council was all right with it.
But I'm saying, I mean, that's 40 years ago.
Well, I don't know. Lettingham was on the city council. I'll see how good my memory is. Bill Brainerd was mayor. Bill Owen, Tom Jennings, Henninghausen. Those are the names that come to mind.
Right. So
that you're talking. I mean, we can't go out to the cemetery and ask. I'm not going to get a very good answer.
You had elected officials that voted for it, but for 40 years now, the people who have been living outside the city limits have been paying that. And up until we're doing this water rate increase, it's become more of an issue now.
The other thing is that back then they might not have wanted to encourage it.
Right.
And that would be a good way to discourage.
Well, the other thing that was pointed out in my conversation with the former city councilor, and both guys that are alive are former mayors too, by the way, is that when this was enacted, there were just a handful of people. Just a handful, and those areas have grown in the last years. And so there's more people that are doing this. And it's curious because at the city council meeting, they said they paid for the infrastructure. But yet we didn't, it sounds like that we didn't pay for it, or we didn't accept it. We haven't accepted that infrastructure. So I'm going, then that comment was not really correct for the discussion because you're going to have to build the infrastructure anyway. And we've got a developer in the room. Generally, under our rules, the developer puts in the infrastructure and then we take it over.
Turn it over to the city.
Is complete, but we didn't even take this over. So I don't know where the meters are out there. I know they're not in front of every house.
They probably didn't take it over because it wasn't put into city standard.
Well, but I'm not going to go dig it up to look. I mean, was done.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Well, and to Robert's point, it's probably put that way to discourage it or to encourage annexation of that area.
I think Will could be onto something. And also for example, let's say West Pine Lodge Road. You run somebody wants water out there, they run it into the right of way, they bury it, you put a meter there. Now a guy another mile away wants it.
Well, when we've got that specific thing happening right now over on McGaffey.
Okay, so that next mile, who is responsible for that infrastructure on that mile in the right of way to the next owner?
What we make them do, and like I said, we're doing this out there right now. There's 3 people that want it. We're putting 3 meters in and they have to bring individual lines to the meters.
Individual lines. I mean, after a while, the right of way is going to be full of, when you really just need one line. I mean, I don't know.
But a 2-inch PVC line is way cheaper than a 6-inch C900, 8-inch C900.
Sure.
So that's why they run it like that.
Well, I'm thinking maybe when they passed this years back, they were under the assumption that we were going to be building more infrastructure. We would be owning it. We would be maintaining it. if they wanted to run it 5 miles down there. And that's just an assumption, but after a while, you're gonna run out of room in the right of way because there's already gas lines, fiber optics and all that stuff. But needless to say, I think that's why it was established then. And if that's the way you guys would, if somebody else wanted water, they run their own PVC line. Discourage using our water, I mean, by building new infrastructure, but at the same time.
But they also have the alternative, the neighbors can come together.
Yeah.
One meter, divide the bill by.
Divide the bill.
If that was ever to change, I could see where we would have to increase that, but till then, I don't see it.
Well, this is all great conversation, but it's gonna, in my opinion, gonna require more work because we're talking in theories.
Hypotheticals, and there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, and we need to get
the real question,
better handle on what we're really discussing here.
Right.
Who's in and who's out would be an important part of the discussion.
Okay.
Because not everybody is in. Sounds like maybe the majority of them are out. I don't know that.
I would say a majority of them are out.
Okay. So we need to, if we're going to pursue this, then we've got to get all the research done. And it's going to be not an easy decision based on the conversation because we got this applies over here, doesn't apply over there. For your little history lesson, we have a ETZ around the city of Roswell into the county. And that was done originally was to give the authority additional opportunity to go out and annex some areas. The city, us, have never really taken advantage of that.
Right.
And so it's agonizing to go out there and, because they've got a different set of rules than the county residents on keeping their property up and some other stuff. And so far, the city of Roswell, I don't know, I haven't checked on this lately, but when I was chairman of that, the city of Roswell was never in the room doing the hard work of going out and citing people for not keeping their property up to the level that's required in the ETZ. Versus when you live in the county, you kind of do whatever you want to do. So we probably need to revisit that issue. And if we're not going to step up, I mean, it's a partnership between the county and the city. If we're not willing to step up and do our share, speaking of the city of Roswell, maybe we ought to look at that. I don't know if it's worthy of discussion down the road and who all needs to get involved with that, but it has not worked as it was originally designed. Did you come up with some paperwork? One of those minutes of the ordinance and the minutes? Okay, there you go, gentlemen, ladies.
Well, there's another thing that I've used before, and that's if somebody wants to put in, it'd be like the gentleman out here. Put in all the stuff up to city specs. If you can get somebody to put that in, and then if you want to connect onto that line, you have to buy into it.
Well, there's
other options to do it too.
There's many ways of figuring out a contract as there is lawyers in town. So that's an interesting thing, but it was interesting reading for me because I knew most of those people. But the one I visited with on the phone that's still alive said it was just a number somebody pulled out of the air. And he also related that it was a small group of homes that fell into this category at that time. Less than a dozen.
Yeah, to answer that question again, when I went through and looked at stuff, I can't see a reason that we would charge people there. If they're not getting any different service. and it's not costing us any more to provide.
Anything else on this topic?
Great.
Food for thought.
Oh, Mr. Chair, before you move on, I think we missed, environmental repairs. I think you missed the whole part.
Maybe we haven't gotten to it because they're not itemized on my sheet here, so. We'll get to the report and it's your turn. Which one do you want to do next?
Well, I'm going back to, I don't remember what page it is. You did the Roswell Public Library, the Roswell Museum, Public Affairs. Those all fun.
We got golf. We got golf in here.
Yeah, golf is where it picks up after.
We've got a grants and project deal. We've got a ways to go. Truth lab. Hopefully everybody's got something to chew on this item and we can move on to another item.
Do you want me to bring this back at some point? Or what's your pleasure?
I don't know. It sounds like a legal question more than anything. Has a financial,
Does have financial implications, but
yeah.
Understanding what this ordinance is, it's on the books is what you're talking about. So, but we wiped that out, did we not, by our new adoption, our new chapter, this ordinance goes away.
Yeah.
And it's incorporated in our new chapter, correct?
So the only change would be to the fee schedule. So
The fee structure on.
No, there's a line in there somewhere.
Is there?
Well, the line says that the fees shall be what are in appendix.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just.
It says for anything outside the city, that it's double what's in appendix A.
That's. So it's language.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we just literally changed that one to whatever.
Okay, well, if somebody want to pursue it, then you know the two guys to get a hold of. Don't look at me. I'll address it. I don't feel like we have enough information at this juncture to make that determination.
I'll pursue it because what we're doing right now, I think it's almost.
What additional information would you want from?
I'm curious as to which areas outside the city that we actually are responsible for the infrastructure versus the areas that we're not.
So I think that's a request that you're making of the water utility then.
I mean, it may be nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Well, so we're actually it's not a dispute, but in a discussion with one person who has lines that run outside the city limits and back into the city limits, or who actually has ownership of the pipe. Our view is they do, except that we happen to own the easement as a matter of law. So it'd be odd for us to own the easement with them owning the pipe.
Right.
So, legal would love to, and this might take a little while, to present who owns what. And if the city actually owns the pipeline that goes out in the county, a slightly higher fee would make sense. Yeah. Because it does cost us more money to maintain that pipe outside of the city limits.
Would that hold up us doing anything for everyone else? I mean, if we wanted to draft something where we stop charging the county residents 200%, can we move forward with that?
Well, what I'm suggesting is if the county resident, we just have a meter up to the city limits. If you want to go to 100%, that's not unreasonable. But if we own the pipe all the way out,
then it's a different issue.
We should probably be charging.
But we can put that, yeah.
Yeah.
We can put that.
Well, we don't know how, we don't know who we're going to charge what. We don't have a map of what.
Then you've got another issue of identifying those particular areas and you run into other potential legal problems about right-of-ways and ownership. And I mean, this is not an easy, as it appears on the surface, it's not an easy decision to come to without having more facts than we've got in front of us. I mean, we've got a resolution and an idea to try to equalize the rate.
Whatever we need to do.
If that's the case, I'd suggest you use the wisdom of Solomon and cut it down to 150 until we can figure out what we actually own and what we don't. And then we can lower it further for people who are paying up.
What if we cut it to 125 and then figure out?
I like that one, yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to, it's literally going to be 2 words of change in the ordinance. It's not going to be difficult.
We can't, well, this is a non.
Yeah, we can't do anything.
Are you okay with that?
They are.
Mr. Chairman? You good with that?
He doesn't know what he's gonna do. He's taking a nap. Leave him alone.
I'd like to see that.
He's not troublemaker when he's taking a nap. Okay.
So when will you bring something?
We can do it at the next legal if you're comfortable with that.
3 weeks away? Will you be prepared in 3 weeks?
Yeah, it will just, like, two words are gonna change in the ordinance.
But will you be able to, you won't be able to give us any additional information about?
I need a map of everybody who served us, and then that will take longer.
I'd like to see them all, would you not?
Like that will take a while.
I mean,
I'd like to see the change, just to bring them down to 125% until we can get all this information. Then we can go back and review everything and maybe come down to 100.
And it won't be that bad. We know where they are. We know if it's ours or not.
Yeah, I mean, when this resolution was done, it was 9 residents.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's grown
$10 to $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, legal's, I always leave efficient, just whatever.
It's up to you.
Bring it back. Put it on.
Okay.
That work, Chair?
I'll get it to you.
You got just as much throat as I do.
Staring at you, I want you to know why, okay?
He's trying to make
No,
it.
no, taking a nap.
Yeah, he's in his nap time
So
now.
what do you want to see next, Counselor?
Well, I just want to go back to the departmental reports.
Well, that's where we're on.
You don't have to.
We haven't got on for that. No.
You went to the utility.
It's me.
She's saying you did.
Some people, while they're standing, get carried away with themselves.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Who do you want next? You call it.
We're here. There's the library and then public affairs. Or did I miss?
We got grant project, SB2. Did anybody here talk about the grant project, SB2?
It'll stand as presented in the packet.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through the packet. And now you want to talk about the library?
Yeah.
Okay. Librarian's here and I know she needs to get back to work. She and I had a discussion about that. Your turn.
The only thing to really tell you outside of what we have is I did get an update on our HVAC. At the last meeting, I said, oh, it's going to be installed the next day. The part didn't come in. And then it was supposed to come in on the 22nd. The part didn't come in. What I'm hearing right now is a part came in. They don't know if it's the correct part. And if it is not the correct part, then there'll be a further delay. If it is the part that they substituted for the part, that means that are obsolete and they will have to bring in a new person, another contractor to install that part. That's what I'm hearing.
And it's getting hot already.
And it is getting hot. The facilities have been over there and done some nice things, but it's still not where it should be. Yeah, and you will note that we got all of our contract, all persons signed on our geo bond money. So that's really nice. And our strategic plan has been sent to the state and we received confirmation for that, which we need for to be a public library.
Any questions? Okay, you can go back to work now. Promise not to pick on you too much. Okay, so anybody here will talk to you anything about golf that's in here? We skipped over it. It's the library.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could touch on golf real quick. I'm sending them a text. We've got a new golf pro, as you know. We also have an assistant, the golf pro, starting next week, I believe. Very excited about them both. They bring a lot of experience coming over from the golf course. We did have a tournament, the large Honda Classic. It's our largest tournament at Nancy Lopez Spring River Golf Course. And my understanding is the attendance and the revenues brought in were higher than last year's tournament, in spite of the weather, which was cold and drizzly over that weekend. So we're excited about that. We're excited about some new tournaments coming in the sweet spot for golfing weather in August and September months at our golf course. Immediately following the Honda Classic golf tournament, again, the big tournament, they've been aerating out the golf course. You may have noticed that the greens look a little bit like sand traps.
And they're slow.
And they're slow, but they're coming on. So they don't look like sand traps now.
Just
I did.
So it's looking good, and we're very excited about the new team. And talking to the staff that's out there at the golf course, they're excited about the new leadership out there as well. So we'll make sure and have our new golf pro in here at our next finance to report out on the activities at golf. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? I don't know if you're bragging.
No, I'm not
complaining.
No, I'm complaining. It was the same way at Inn of the Mountain Gods. They just aerated theirs and
that's a
oh, that's beautiful. I love a good green golf course. And is our watering, is it time to like up the watering over there?
Yes, and talking to the golf pro, so he knows and understands all about the temperature for that Bermuda grass to really take off. He's looking at it, he's watching it, he's excited about it because right now is the time.
Right now is the time, and I love nothing better, and nothing against Institute, but I love to leave there and say, yeah, Institute, the city just blows yours away.
Under every morning, I drive by, they're watering.
I'm just gonna say there's one guy around who really likes swimming, put more water.
I love a lot of water. I mean, especially after leaving the inn, how beautiful green plush that was. How is it greener than the Institute? I'm sorry.
You too.
You too, okay. Well, we all agree.
And him too. But
we all agree on that, right? Good.
Our new pro has a little bit of a competitive nature, so that's going to be good. The other, I want to just throw out there to this group, he is really about teaching the next generation of golfers. So he's a true pro in every sense. He likes teaching golf, and
you guys knocked it out of the park with him.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
Anything more? You know more.
Yeah.
I'm not a golfer, so.
He's heard some of this before.
Well, Chair, if your back was better, I know you would be.
I did play golf at one time.
Absolutely.
Back history. And then back said no more of that. So we got that all under control. And I did go out to the golf course the other day. And
I heard you did.
I stole a golf cart. No, I didn't. I got a key. I did it the way you're supposed to. Drove around and was pleasantly surprised at how mature everything's getting out there. So
beautiful.
It is. It's a very, very,
very challenging, and it's beautiful.
Dodged a couple of golf balls, here forward, just there's a city councilor. He's the next target. Whack. But it was enjoyable. I didn't have time to go through the whole course, but I'm planning on going back and taking a look because there's some things I saw that in the future we need to plan to get some things done. So as we get through these budget cycles, we can push that stuff on down.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're working on it. Okay, museum. Anything on the museum? Nobody here? Public affairs.
If you have any questions,
I don't have any. We've already done the next one in my book.
I get to give TJ
So,
kudos. She did a really good job working with Main Street.
Oh, I like what I see. Okay, so now.
Mr. Chair, just a public service announcement tomorrow is cleanup day.
Yes.
Great American Student.
So if you're not doing anything from 8 to 12 tomorrow, show up at Cielo Grande. They've done a good job of removing the dirt piles and the piles of trash out there. And now it's time to go out there and turn it into a park and pick up all the trash plastic bags and everything.
I have to say, they're doing it on a Friday because there's no money for overtime for the
That's why they did it on Friday, so the city manager told them they couldn't pay them overtime.
You know, I hear he's a hard.
Yeah, you know, they had to do it. But anyway, I would encourage everyone, because it's been a effort by many departments in the city to get that place cleaned up. So.
And it looks great.
And it's looking good, and it's looking like a park.
Okay.
So.
If you have a trailer out there, you'll find a trailer and pick up the supplies to clean up.
Do we have any groups coming out?
Maybe like 6 people. Maybe, but
Of course.
I did another email notification as a reminder. I didn't receive any responses, but
No youth challenge.
But they don't, if this during the end hours, we don't make.
I'm hoping that they just didn't respond and plan to go out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from our airport leadership. Miss Jennifer, it's your mission statement.
Good afternoon. Meeting.
Yeah.
It's strategic.
Go ahead.
I did.
Already did, you had some left?
And discuss the mission and vision statement. The statement that came out of that meeting, 2 mission statements I'll read. The first one was the Air Center is a cornerstone of aviation economic development with our strategic location, excellent year-round weather, and exceptional runways and infrastructure. I have a second rendition of that. The Air Center is a cornerstone of aviation and economic development with our strategic location, abundant airspace, excellent year-round weather, and exceptional runways and infrastructure. Our mission is to promote successful aeronautical and industrial performance for all stakeholders. The vision statement that came out of that meeting was the Rossville Air Center envisions becoming the preferred aviation destination in the region, having a significant economic impact by providing an aviation and industrial jobs and uses. The committee wanted everybody the city council to roll these over. If there's any changes or any suggestions, we can take that back for our next meeting in May 22nd.
22nd?
22nd.
Yeah. So it's, the point is, committee members, that this is a work in process. And it's been interesting to me to see the way that these guys are leading the planning of this. They've asked for some quite a few data points on our facility and what we have presently and what needs to be looked at. And for planning purposes, it's been a worthwhile project. And I think some good's going to come out of it. I do too. So it's good. It's all good. Okay. So next on my list, subject to alerted council members, is municipal court. Judge, welcome. Find a chair.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of council. I'm here today to present the municipal court's budget for fiscal year 2025. I appreciate the time that you'll take to review and discuss our budget needs. The court submits this budget respectfully after careful, thoughtful deliberation. And we've determined that these are necessary and reasonable expenses in the performance of our assigned judicial duties. We're committed to constantly evaluating our processes with the intent to reduce overall costs to the fullest extent. Just to give you some snapshot of the budget for the court, we break it down into 4 categories: salary and benefits, court operations, facilities and building, and corrections and defendant housing. For our salary and benefits for our current staffing, we're seeking funding for the municipal judge, court administrator, 4 deputy court clerks, a bailiff, and a court compliance officer. We do have a current vacancy. We had one of our court clerks be selected as your new crime scene technician for the police department. So we'll be looking to fill her vacancy as soon as we can. I note that the salary of the municipal judge is set by city ordinance. It's a percentage of the state magistrate judges. They do expect an increase for their judges effective on July 6th. We do estimate in our submission to the budget a 4% increase for court employees, and that is consistent with what the city manager may propose for general employees. All that we request is that any cost of living adjustments or funding or step increases approved by council for general employees, that they be considered and applied to court employees. We've always tried to be consistent with whatever the city provides. We have for court operations, these line items include our obligations for our indigent counsel representation, our court interpreters, our travel and training, our alternate judge costs, software subscriptions, postage, printing. We have received notice, and it's already taken effect, that our indigent attorney contract has increased the cost billed to the city. So we know that's going up. We're expecting that our costs will increase for our court interpreters, for our use of certified court interpreters. We had a late relationship with a regular interpreter. She has chosen not to recertify her certification, and she is retired, and now we're going to have to rely on other vendors who will cost more than she did. We will incur future costs related to having a vehicle assigned to the court. That's something that we hadn't had in past years. So fuel maintenance and insurance will be new costs not previously incurred by past court budgets. I note that the cost of postage and metered mail, which the court participates a lot in, it also increased this year by 1 cent from 63 cents to 64 cents. That rate change took effect January 21st. We do expect that our vendor costs for our software maintenance agreement will increase. They're always late to the table with the amount of increase that they provide to us. Historically, the court has sought funding for that reimbursement. It was always available to the court. However, as counselors are aware, and I've mentioned it to you previously, the funding for reimbursements was eliminated in House Bill 139. The administrative office of the courts has notified all courts throughout the state that reimbursements to municipalities will no longer occur. So that's something that will change. That'll be effective July 1. We continue to address our technology requirements for remote appearances and online communications with the detention center. The current Supreme Court order requires that, or presumes that, the courts conduct certain proceedings by remote means. We're working with our state court partners, mirroring their technologies, so that we can provide consistent services throughout the judiciary. We're looking at computer network upgrades as well as hardware and software needs to maintain these objectives. For our facilities and building, we're seeking funding for our facility and maintenance costs. These include our contractual janitorial cleaning services, our cleaning supplies, pest control, wayfinding, security, furniture and fixtures, and maintenance and repair costs. We're again seeking monies necessary for the replacement of our windows. We had previously been asked to work on this item with the facilities manager, Mr. Holcomb. We met with Mr. Holcomb, made some progress. He had indicated to the court that the sources of funding that were needed to address the facilities, he wanted to submit in a capital improvement project. We later learned that on the departure of Mr. Holcomb when he left city service, no information was passed on to his replacement. So the project is still not addressed. We're asking for specific funding for that window replacement. We've taken the initiative to gather quotes, and the monies requested are based on those quotes from approved vendors. We're asking for additional monies in addition to just the window replacements for our unforeseen maintenance issues. I give you examples in my budget memorandum. We incurred a cost of approximately $5,000 to replace our door in the front of the facility due to wind damage. Our HVA units went out, all of them. We have 3 in our building. We incurred cost of $10,519. I did, have a lot of empathy for the library because we lost our AC units in the height of the last year's summer, and it was very difficult to work through those conditions. We had the same issues with parts and parts not being available, or parts needed to be ordered or back ordered. So it's just unfortunate. But we did incur $10,519 in cost for that. We also had issues with odors permeating the building. We identified that our sewer and drain piping had collapsed from the kitchen to the drain, and we needed to relocate our vent pipe through other means. We incurred cost of $4,795 for that. Talk about corrections and our defendant housing. We're asking for the same funding level as you've always provided for that. In the past, the amount of money that has been set aside that we collect through our fee structure, which I'll talk about in a moment, $20 of that fine collection was used for corrections fund. There was a set number of things that statutes allowed for expenditures. One of them is the housing of municipal prisoners. The other one is an ankle monitor electronic monitoring program. And the other one is alternative sentencing programs. And we used a portion of that to pay for drug testing under our probation and alternative sentencing. So those are the 3 things that we were tapping that corrections fund for. With the passing of HB 139 effective July 1st, the requirements of the statute repeal those fees, and that we've been instructed, all courts have been instructed that those fees will no longer be collected. So we've put you on notice before, mentioned that there were many changes affecting the courts in the city with respect to HB 139. Most of them went into effect when the bill was passed, and then some sunsetted to begin July 1. So July 1 is when those take place. That virtually eliminates the entirety of the special revenue fund requirements and avoids city ordinances in chapter 15, section 13-12, 15-12, chapter 24, section 24-2, and section 24-4. So now we're going to ask for that funding within line items within our budget. We're identifying our ankle monitor program under our contract equipment rent and lease. We're identifying our drug testing through our contract and professional services. We have not had a chance to get Ms. Davies' opinion on if we maintain the current corrections fund and account number, or if we need to create a new account number. I don't know if you have a comment on that, but I'm not sure how we handle that. But that's where that is. In your packet, I do provide you with some data on our fee collections for calendar year 2023. From all sources, the court collected $227,009.50. Of that, $143,003 was related to fines. The court cost or court fees, corrections fees we collected were $54,165. Court automation fees were $16,403. Judicial education fees were $8,164. And then our other fees for probation or bond-related collections were $5,252. those are our sources of revenue. In the past, we had submitted the monies for court automation and judicial education directly to the administrative office of the courts. But as of July 1st, that will cease and not occur. For reimbursements, again, I mentioned that we did apply routinely for reimbursement for our software maintenance. We were able this year to get our reimbursement of $20,075. Again, future reimbursements have been eliminated. For our statistical information, as a snapshot, in total for calendar year 2023, 3,694 violations of criminal and traffic ordinances were filed with the court or initiated with the court. We performed an additional 112 weddings during the calendar year. For incarceration and alternative sentencing, the number of days that we paid for the detention center equaled 3,734 days of incarceration, which is a cost of $280,050. We do employ sentencing strategies for alternative sentencing using the ankle monitor program. We had a total of 803 days served by defendants on house arrest or electronic monitoring. If they had served those hours within days within the detention facility, the city would have incurred a cost of approximately $60,225. The court expended $3,876 in ankle monitoring to realize those savings. We had 127 defendants participating in community service programs, completing a total of 1,495 hours. We had 78 defendants on supervised probation. We had 41 defendants reporting for pretrial supervision. We had 51 defendants confined to house arrest imposed by the court. Some highlights, we've been using our LexisNexis abilities to identify persons who have closed matters or adjudicated matters where a bond was placed in the matter. The bond was not returned. We found that the person who posted the bond were third-party individuals that were not directly related to the case. They were either a relative or a friend or a neighbor who had put up this money. But we found that some of these cases were from as far back as 1996. And we've been working diligently to try to identify through open sources and who these people are and where we can locate them. We have been successful in locating many. And so far, we've returned a total of $10,248 to these individuals. We can continue to evaluate our internal processes and our forms. Again, with House Bill 139 and the fee collection, that's going to cause a change to our software and how we're managing the court. We're already working with our software vendors. We use Full Court software through Enterprise. It's a company or a software company that does a lot of courts throughout the state. So a lot of your bigger courts, they use the same software they do. They have already worked out the changes that need to be implemented, and they're pushing that out so that on July 1, we'll be ready to go to manage the change. We're continue to work with elected officials regarding behavioral health issues and homelessness. We did have one of our employees, our compliance officer, Ms. Ordonez, traveled with Commissioner Dana to Miami, Florida, to attend a presentation on their behavioral health program. I'm understanding that many more elected officials and officials from the city will be attending that in the future. It's a very worthwhile program. And I think that the city is working towards wanting to create a model based on the Miami program. I continue to be involved with the board of directors with the Municipal Judges Association. I'm been recently to be a judicial coach. I represent the city along with 12 other municipalities as the District 5 director of the Municipal League. And I was a guest speaker at the conference for the Municipal League held in Farmington last year. I've been asked by the newly created Court Education Institute I was asked to come on and assist with as a faculty judge with that new institute. And I'll be attending conference next week, and I'll be providing some guidance and instruction during some of the breakout sessions. I'm now assigned as a mentor judge to several more jurisdictions. I've been assigned Santa Rosa, Fort Sumner, Capitan, Tularosa, and Cloudcroft. So I'm constantly working with those judges, trying to get them on board and getting them up to speed and on their way as judges in the state. So the court appreciates the opportunity to submit our budget and our budget request. I am available for questions. And I encourage anybody to just come over and watch court, see what we do and see how we do it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Judge.
Just so you know, that's not in my packet. None of this information. I don't know. Okay. Here you go. Yeah, I printed it off today, so.
Judge, the repeal, what all did they take? They took the education fee.
We took the
fee,
the
automation fee.
So in municipal court where we had 3 fees, we had the corrections fee of $20. We had the automation fee of $6 and the judicial education fee of $3. So a total of $29 in fees. But they did eliminate all the fees in magistrate court as well. So your brain injury fees, your other fees associated with different court costs, they've eliminated all of those fees as well. The idea, I guess, was that the legislature would fund the replacement of those fees in some way, but you know how that works. Yeah. So AOC has notified us that there's a lot of changes coming because there's just no money. So
in your review, state statute that's passed, but I haven't looked at it. Is there any wiggle room in that thing at all?
For fees? So, well, you as a municipality, and this is a Hess question more than anything, you can up your fees or change your fees or do a lot of things with respect to fines. I think the municipal league might have some comments on that. I know there's some fodder going around about doing that and the message that it sends back to the legislatures, and it's a political kind of thing, but you know, you do have the power to raise fees. You're not a home rule designation. Home rule municipalities have a little bit different rules, and they can impose certain fees. So there's a distinction between home rule and not a home rule. But again, I'd like to yield to Mr. Eitema on any changes or proposed changes for upping fines.
I'm just curious. So the elimination of those fees, I wouldn't keep a good math run, but roughly, because I don't want you to get your calculator out.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about 50, 60,000 bucks, if my memory is correct.
Yes, sir. The corrections fees we collected for calendar year 23 was $54,165. So those fees will no longer be coming to the city. And then again, the $20,000 plus dollars that we always got reimbursed for our software, that will no longer occur. So
80,000.
Yeah. So you're just looking at different impacts based on that legislation that impact the city. It does change. Again, you have ordinances that are on the books that speak to this, but this action July 1st will eliminate those, or they won't be applicable. So it affects us on a lot of other levels. If you read House Bill 139, it does have so many different things. It changes the calculation for how much credit we have to give for somebody doing community service. We have to give $24 an hour. It's based on twice the minimum wage. So $24 an hour credit towards any outstanding fines or fees. If you spend the night in jail, you get a credit of $288 per day, or any portion of a day.
I'm going to go to jail, so you're going to feed me while I'm there.
So again, we've mentioned privacy.
Can I get some early credit built up with you, Jack? I'll go hurt myself in.
Yeah. And then House Bill 139 also gave the judiciary or judges a lot of discretion to address those fees. So
You've got to credit an inmate that you lock up.
Yes, sir.
More than I get as being a city council.
Probably so.
For a 2-week period.
$12 an hour times 24 hours is $288 a day, or any portion of
And they
it.
still count if you show up at 11:30, you get
Yep.
credit for that day.
Yes, you do, sir.
And at 12:01, you get credit for the second day.
Yes, you do. So, I mean, yes, it's a very generous
So it sounds like we're gonna have to pick up $100,000 burden that used to be covered by collections. Round figures.
At least.
Something else on your plate, Mr. Intima. Now we're talking about some real dollars.
Well, I mean, I'm always, willing to take an opportunity when it exists. But if you're in the ballpark of wanting to address your fines and fees, there are some adjustments that are recommended, just some updates with different violations or the ordinances that you guys approve. There's many things that are jailable offenses currently that probably should be penalty assessments. So just some fine tuning like that, but there are some opportunity to do some updates.
Criminal legal, you just got something on your plate.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the attorney did.
Did I present it legal? I believe I did give you all kind of this same information. So we're happy to participate, and to the extent that we can. It's really not the role of the court to help make the ordinances and things like that, but we can certainly talk about technical.
Road, Judge.
But we're happy to.
House bill, we have to counteract some.
It's gonna cost us.
We
And
have
how
to
much
counteract something.
is somewhat questionable. We don't have a good
So we can't charge.
feel for it.
We could, yes, but
Your analysis, ankle monitors, I mean, there's.
But see, that's not.
The problem is a lot of people just don't have the ability to do that. So, if it's a failure to pay fines, as an example, there's a process, there's a court process to get them through all that. And they make you jump through a lot of hoops. And it is a defense that you're just not able to pay. It's not that you're not wanting to pay, it's just you're not able to. And so you can't just put somebody in jail because they're poor.
And then we say it's $288 a day. Well, that doesn't include the $75.
Well, yeah, because it does cost $75 a day.
Yes.
So there's lots of impacts, but, we work through it and we do the best we can. But our packet does give you a really good snapshot of what the court's doing and where our money's going.
Oh, yeah. What you got?
Judge, I was looking under elected salaries.
Yes.
You said there was a 3% increase.
Yes, sir.
I calculate that this is a 20% increase.
Yeah, so I'll explain that.
80,000 to 101,000 is a 20% increase.
Yeah, I'll speak to that, sir. So the 84 that we received was mid-year, January 1, the salary of the municipal judge changed because of the election. And so when we budgeted monies from the previous year, we only asked for the monies that would get us through January through July. And so we had already 70,000 that was accounted for that. The remainder of the cost, we calculated 84,000 would be the budget recommendation. And so now it's the full amount of the salary of the municipal judge.
But I thought the position wasn't $70,000 a year position.
No, sir, it changed by ordinance, it changed, and it's a percentage of magistrate salary.
Ordinance?
Yes,
ordinance?
It's in your ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, and I refer to that in the page. It's ordinance 15-2.
3% raise in your.
Yeah, it's based on a salary of $98,000.
It's only 3% there.
No, that's on that. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So Mr. Hildebrand, the salary is 98,000 and some change, so 3% above that.
Okay. Okay, I get it. The other question I have for you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Is I see some new line items on here pertaining to a vehicle, maintenance and repair of a vehicle.
Yes, sir.
What vehicle does the court own?
Well, so that's an interesting question. We asked for a vehicle to be assigned to the court. We were told we were getting one from the police department from their replacement vehicles. I've seen on paper that the court's been assigned a Chevy Tahoe, a 2006 Chevy Tahoe, but it hasn't happened. So
we're still working through that process.
Okay. So again, it's on my inventory list as being responsible to the court. and it took effect on March 1st. But when we called around and tried to track it down, we were ultimately gotten in touch with the police department, and then we were told we would get it, and then all of a sudden, we're not.
Why do you need to come?
For
Two more cars than they needed it over.
we do our bank runs. We need it for our travel back and forth to our trainings. So yeah, it's not for personal stuff.
I mean, you don't want to use it for.
Yeah, you don't want to use your personal.
What's the issue? Because I believe it's been transferred on assets.
And that's where I just recently
Because
saw
that-
that our asset list said,
Last time I heard, they were still stripping the stuff down.
and I heard it got assigned to another officer. So
No, you don't get the lights and the sirens yet?
I don't need them. And I spent 26 years in one of those. So I'm ready to not have that. But there might be a cost incurred. And I wasn't sure where it would lie, but we would have had the responsibility to take the decals off and clean it up and then remove if it had a cage or whatever it might have had that, just wasn't necessary. We would need to remove that. I'm sure there might be a minimal cost for that. So, but that's the answer to that, sir.
It does most of that right now, taking the sirens and.
There's a vendor, I believe, that the city uses to demark it or.
Yeah, it depends.
Well, it's supposed to be a done deal, but it ain't a done.
It ain't a done deal, but the court is patient, so, I'm sure it'll get all worked out, but I don't need Miss Davies coming in and yelling at me that, hey, this is on your inventory, where's that car at? I just shrug and say, I'm sorry, Miss Davies.
You can't bother him for a week.
I'm sure it'll turn up. I'll think that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Judge, and, I know we talked about the windows last year. I get some real estimates.
Yes, sir.
And use the city's procurement process to do that. Are you using the city's procurement process for this right now?
Other than the court's gone out and got estimates and done that legwork, we haven't put any requisition in. We haven't moved anything forward because, again, I'm very cautious with my budgeted monies, and I don't have the budgeted monies to do that. So I need to come to you guys and beg and plead for money.
We don't have it.
Yeah, and you don't have
a lot. We have some, but
so I'm just asking to address it. However, the process is, it's interesting on the vendor world. And as y'all all aware, the vendor quotes expire rather quickly. And then when you need them to resubmit, they magically go up $10,000. And that's what happened to us. We've had that exact thing happen to us. We've also had vendors that had been approved by the city that are no longer in business before now. And so we're stretched out, and we're, looking at companies in Rio Doso and outside of the city, which I don't prefer to do, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Judge, I watched the news from the Albuquerque channels in the morning. There must be 6 to 8 window companies on there. In fact, they stand on their windows, if you see that.
And I just need 9 windows and a couple.
Buy 6 and you get 3 free.
Hey, what did you got? We might have a deal in the making.
I have 9 and what I need for it.
There you go.
But I just need a couple of them to open and circulate air. Exactly. But our windows are in extremely poor condition with oxidation, with rusting metal frames. There is some evidence of leaking, probably from a past roof issue. So it's just way past time, and this issue's been kicking around for quite a while, and I truthfully just like to put it to bed. I do appreciate, that specific fund. Mr. Alderman, I do appreciate all your questions or comments, so if you have more,
Thank you, Judge.
See. Okay. May I be excused?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. What's left of it? Okay, so now we're going to listen to the water department. And wastewater. Excuse me.
Water and wastewater.
Yeah, you're the guy.
Mr. Chair, committee members, last month's meeting, finance committee meeting, I was at to bring financial review basically of our projects, where we're at, where we're headed. Everything's here in the packet. I don't know if you want to go by each budget and address each request that we had, where we're at on current projects, where we're moving forward.
I think shorten it up, tell us where you are, what your completion dates are on these projects real quick. If you haven't started them when they're supposed to start, I think that seems to be on everybody's want to know list.
Okay.
Yours, you don't count.
Oh, there's yours. I'll throw yours to the side. Okay, on the water side, okay, we have the North Atkinson project, water line project, replacing a 8-inch and 12-inch main line over there, getting rid of some asbestos line over there. That's from Cherry to College. Estimated completion on that is July, this July coming up. That's,
Where we at?
that one is not, we're gonna complete it this fiscal year.
Okay.
This has the carryovers. That's the only one we have for water maintenance. Additional cost right now that we're asking for budget for next year is concrete saw. That's going to attach to the backhoe. That's at a cost of $26,400. This attaches to the backhoe. It's about 3 foot in diameter where we can saw the trench lines and make the cuts. So we got clean cuts, clean patches across when we run our main line. That's for replacement line. The second request is for vehicle replacements. These are actually built to spec. These are large vehicles, big ones, big cabinets. It has its own crane, so we can lower down valve, fire hydrants, such as built-in generator. So these are actually built to spec. All the attachments are in there, so you can see what they look like, what the charges are for.
You have page numbers on those? I'm trying to keep up with you.
Yeah.
Actually, this one,
Those are not.
I don't think they were numbered, were they?
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
Number.
In a man, I just.
See, there's the ATVs right there on.
Yeah, I saw the ATVs as well.
And that's the
I got-
picture of the truck that he was just
I got
talking
the
about.
capital budget request.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Not a one of them's on there.
There it is.
Sorry, counselors, I was trying to save the trees. I brought what I scanned and submitted.
They give you my.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
We got one of these for you.
We got all of those, but I don't have.
No, we haven't
Recap.
purchased any of these yet.
Yeah.
About it last year, or year
Yes,
before.
yes, we have discussed it.
We had discussed buying 4 of them,
Yeah,
and then after Lorenzo and I talked about it, it would be easier to manage it if we did 2 one year and then 2 the next.
So this is page 218,
there we go.
and that just shows you kind of a snapshot of what the pickups are gonna look like. But all the body specs and everything else, Robert set these up.
Oh, there's a problem.
Actually, the crews did a lot of work on it.
Oh, okay. But the crane truck starts on page, looks like to me, 211.
Yeah.
It's got standard and then it's got several pages with the different.
This is something new that we don't have, this type of equipment at all, correct?
No, we do not have this current.
This type of equipment at all.
We do not. We want to get 2 this year and then 2 next year. That's why it's going to take at least a year to produce these things, probably a little longer. Might be even a carryover into next year's budget.
We just get stuff today and like you will get it, my life.
Is this a part of rate study?
Yes.
This is to just fulfill that.
It's part of it.
Fulfill that.
It's
But
in,
we had the money budgeted in the rate study to do all of this year, to do 4 months. We'll still collect that money
And have it reserved.
and we'll carry it over into next year's capital and then.
this should be something we can look at when we do the mid-year evaluation. Maybe get that thing moved up, don't wait a whole year.
Its funds are there.
Yeah, because this is one of those things that it's gonna take, they're talking probably at least 18 months.
Anytime?
Yeah.
It's in
Although they said that it's getting better.
Me and updated one more.
Can you place it more?
Yes.
You're not, they always.
I don't-
Extended.
I mean, we could add. We usually typically want one, but it's a good question. We can definitely ask.
It was,
Because then we don't
I
have
don't have an extra copy of it.
encumbered.
It was in, posted. Now the
And funds
judge,
it.
because
Because that was the whole.
Didn't get in there, but that, it was my God.
We don't pay for it for 2 years. Why can't we collect the money for that 2 years?
I'll pay the website.
Yeah.
Like I got like 92 pages to 240. Should have been in.
21 million.
Maybe my printer ran out of paper.
The start.
But it's my printer, but.
That's over pavement cuts and.
Pavement, concrete.
What are you using now?
Could have
I walk behind the concrete saw.
And I all
We're putting the asphalt.
put in your box for you.
That are,
But I see the cut.
yeah,
Wondering.
an extra one that
the asphalt over the top of it. So
You have to
cut
do your box.
fits, so.
Well,
That's concrete.
So we have a pizza cutter that will attach onto the beam.
I just put the ream in.
Run it down and it'll cut through some of it, but in concrete streets, it will not cut. Form concrete with
You
asphalt.
guys actually have to break that up and then report it?
Before we just pack it with asphalt.
Peaches.
We just cut the concrete underneath and then we just. We backfill a flowable fill that keeps the density. Just keeps solids.
No, let me, because
Global fill.
Yes.
You can just punch your.
You guys need that pretty bad though, the
Concrete saw?
yeah.
Yeah, I just barely bought a brand new
Yeah.
bearing because our other one wore out. Southwood Bearing bought one because we're gonna cut right here in front of the museum. We're gonna replace the main line from Main Street to Richardson, right in front of the museum on the north side.
With all the
But we use it.
leakages, I mean, you guys are busy with that.
We'll use that.
Fiasco.
The other thing is we'll have $4 million in infrastructure reinvestment.
Weeks is such
And then we can start, we'll have the equipment to start doing some of that. So it's not something we need now, you know, like today, but
Put it on the radar.
like.
It is on the path. I did this earlier.
Trick is.
You see the judge, but.
no, I didn't make it.
And that's what we're doing. We're getting a plan. in.
Is this the top?
This is formulation of it right here.
No, that's part of Lorenzo's that he's doing right now.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of this budget already, because we submitted it. I'm sure you guys reviewed it, but still.
He got
just-
flooded.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of it,
ran out of
I
paper
mean, we get what we can get.
before it finished.
There's nothing different in here.
It was too big and said,
Because I got it Monday, the email, and I reviewed everything. Well, obviously.
Okay, now we'll go to the wastewater treatment plant on this one.
Printed it today.
We do have the dewatering project, we're expecting change orders on it. There was some
this wasn't in the packet. Did you get one of these?
pumps that were designed incorrectly, which we have tests on top of that. Now we have a second set of pumps that aren't working correctly unless they can fix them. That's another issue.
What page is that on?
This one is on page 92.
Okay, I remember that.
Sorry about that.
Give him the packet and he still doesn't go in order.
I'm like backwards here. I started out with this one, so it started me backwards.
And
Now I'm back on
it
track.
sounds familiar, but I'm like, okay.
I went back to the beginning, so I'm starting from, we're just gonna have to skip the water part. We're back, I'm back on 92, where we actually started, now I got numbers. The dewatering project, we're gonna have some change orders coming on that for incorrect design.
You're not getting.
So we'll be arguing that.
Who incorrectly designed it?
Our engineer HDR, they're the ones who,
What is their liability?
that's why we got it in Hetz's.
I think we talked about this before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
And, that's, he's been all over it, right?
On the improper pump design for
Because they got paid for
the
it.
primary stretch pump.
It didn't work. Now it's gonna cost us.
So now,
Who's that signed this contract?
when was it, the contract?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's been a long while back, because this started back in 2019, and it's been progressing up till now. But now there's a problem with the first set of pumps, improper design, and now there's a second set of pumps. I'm gonna send you an email that I just got a while ago. Where Smithco's going at them, kind of stating, hey, we need to find out where you're gonna go with it, so I'm gonna give you that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
So we're still not online with that.
yeah, it's, my only need is, you know, because I won't understand the engineering side of it very well. But I need, this is what the specs we agreed for you to do, this is what you put in, this is the result of what's happened, and this is why it's not. Part one and part three don't. Sure, brief you.
And we're working on that right now. Definitely, all that discussion going on, and I'll get that for you. Because they're talking about running different motors, different speeds, so many gallons per minute, 35 gallons per minute at 13 hertz. You have to ramp the motors down to like 10 gallons per minute, trying to run at 7 hertz. Not going to pump enough. Not going to cool because they're running too low. The pump isn't designed for that. Manufacturer not going to warranty the pumps. There's a whole lot more story to it. So I'll get you.
Oh, I bet. What's the best guess on this little changeover is gonna cost? $500,000, $400,000?
On here. 600,000.
600,000 right now, so I was looking at.
Addition.
Because of course the project.
Change orders always have.
This isn't change. This is.
And we're gonna.
Design problem.
It's a design problem, so we're gonna protest that. But the project has gone way over. This project was supposed to be completed last year around June, and here we are. It's a full year later. So there's additional construction oversight costs, engineering costs, having staff on site. The actual contractor isn't charging us more, I don't believe, but there is going to be change orders on that pump, where we're going to have to.
I haven't seen his final bill yet.
But we have to complete the project, sure. So we're gonna have.
It's gonna go to legal and figure out what the hell we're gonna get back.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a 600,000 deal.
You saw it.
Yeah, it was there.
Nicely done. Sorry it didn't work.
Yep. Okay, next, backup generator. We had our generator shut down. You know, everybody heard the story, but it's snowing, electricity went out, Super Bowl Sunday, power went out. We're out of power for 9 hours. And we started backing up out of a manhole. The lift station was completely full. Good thing we had it contained. We're about to overflow and we finally got the power on. They found 2 outages, so we're wanting to get, some kind of a backup generator to, just in case one doesn't function, we have the second one to kick on.
So did you get
we
that
have to have some kind of.
Get that circuit breaker replaced?
We got it all fixed. Running. Load testing, we had a few issues. So we had the circuit breaker, that was only like $20-something thousand. And then we also just had another part of the generator itself that he barely replaced. We barely got it back online. We had a temporary unit hooked up and we got the other one up and running now.
How old's that generator?
I don't know what year that one is. I'd have to find out.
These are nat gas generators.
Yeah, it's pretty old. Guessing about maybe in 06.
You guys routinely operate that generator.
Kicks on every Monday, 9 o'clock.
Good. So doesn't have much load on it. You load it at that.
We don't load it. Now we're gonna start load testing every so often. They don't recommend load testing it constantly because then it could cause other problems, but we're quarter. And we did load test it now to make sure it's operational. So we barely load tested it last week. What's up and running and.
Oh yeah. Message, where's Mr. Cole?
Sure.
In retrospect, I wish he'd sent it out. On this, we're talking about the backup on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
It was just within minutes of backing up in everybody's shower.
Yeah, we could add a mess.
Don't flush, don't do your laundry, don't. If you're gonna pour water, pour it in a glass and drink it. Don't let it run down the drain. In retrospect, I wish you'd sent it out. It's okay, it's all gonna work out. But people need to understand the pressure the city's under with all of these basic services. I call them basic services. Because we don't have water, sewer, trash collection, fire, and police, what have you got?
No city.
So it would have been alarming, but it would have been easier to take this rate increase that we've already enacted. And a lot of these problems are going to be easier to manage. I'm not going to allege that they're going to go away, this rate increase, but it's just going to be a little easier to manage this stuff. And people in the community, for the most part, don't have a clue. And that's because we just got our heads down and we're working. Big deal out of it, we're just getting after it.
I will say that mention this to the Republican women, to the group that meets at the college, to a couple other groups. So there's some understanding about it.
Well,
the Super Bowl Sunday event.
Yeah.
It did get some attention in the newspaper as well.
Well, I know it because I've had some people question me about, not lately, but early on, what's going on at Super Bowl Sunday? And I said, well, you about got your surge back up in the car.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Seriously. They go, yeah, I'm just telling you that we were minutes, literally minutes, not an hour. I don't think there's an hour left. And of course, I don't know where you were in relation to halftime, but if it had happened right at halftime, we would have got people served by stuff.
Yeah. Bad.
That one, 455,500 for that.
Yeah, we're painfully aware of the increased cost of keeping things at an even flow.
Okay, the next request, it's for a pickup truck, and this is on page 93. It's for a pickup truck replacement and also 2 UTVs they're the ones that the operators run around, the little units they drive to do all the checks on all the charts and everything else. We drive around that plant all day long on those things.
Bicycle for cheaper.
And you get exercise.
How many do you currently have?
We have 2. We're gonna replace the 2 and get a pick, if you guys approve that. That's 100,000. We'll use the state price agreement on that one.
And back to the generator real quick, and sorry, but
All right.
is that a price agreement or was that just a quote you got, an engineer's estimate?
That's a quote we got from Trax.
Right.
They're the ones who do our current generator repair. So that being said, we would still go out to bid on something like that.
Right, okay. Just
So
That probably is the state contract price if we got it from.
Okay.
from him, yeah.
it would still be the statewide price agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
We would attach all documentation, have everything attached.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Jeff.
Johnson
No.
just wanted them to give
That's
me
what
a
this
quote.
is.
Wait
This is
to get this
informational
in by
item.
them. So, yeah.
He gave it to us that, Thursday, and we submitted it that same day.
Yep.
So it's just so we could have an estimate what it's gonna cost. We always go through the process and we'll have some kind of contract, state price agreement, something.
If there is one out there for that, that's where we bought ours from for
Okay.
the plant.
Thank you.
Okay, project number 4 for wastewater treatment plant, EIM valve replacement. So that one, we're trying to get some new controls in our basins for dissolved oxygen, nitrates, ammonia. That's what that is, to upgrade it, because they're going bad pretty frequently now, and they're getting pricey. They're getting a whole lot more expensive, so this will be an upgrade. Project number 5 is analytical water transmitter. So that one is just part of our SCADA system. It helps transmit all the information from like our lift station and basins all the way to our SCADA system. Project number 6 is the purchase of the property. Counselor, you asked me about that earlier.
Yeah, it was. And I think, this is something we should really start looking into. I know you had a dialogue with a gentleman at one time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's been so long ago, and I think during our last conversation, you even said the gentleman may have passed away and you've been working with his
He
son.
did pass away.
He did. Larry Wagner was the owner, hired.
Okay.
And now his stepson got the property. It's in the state right now. Once it finalizes state, we're in constant contact with him. He's going to let us know when it finalizes and then start working on this.
Right, because I just feel that the liability, if we kind of let this thing get away from us, in the event they just want to put it out in the market, because I think they gave us we did an appraisal of it.
Yes.
And that appraisal is way old. but if he still honors those prices, I think that would be gold.
Well,
And
and if with all this activity that I see, with some stuff I'm aware about that's out there just on the horizon, if 10% of that comes in, we're gonna have to do something because we're at back capacity right now.
Yep.
And I think Super Bowl Sunday dictated that.
It did.
And these kind of projects, oh, man, you haven't seen the dollar signs because they're one of them engineered specific to the community and da.
Well, and what I did, Tara, is I know this is farming property right now, and it's being farmed right now. And I was, I think by leasing it out, getting the lease fees to possibly even make the payment for us.
Well,
I just see potential in a few areas there.
Well, he's using some of our fluid water.
Yes. And
I guess we're charging him for that.
Yes.
$3. I don't know,
$15 an acre foot.
Is it now 15?
Yes.
I gotta go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting ready to lose the quorum here.
Huh?
You're getting ready to lose the quorum.
So that.
No, we got 3 of us.
So you're getting ready to lose the quorum.
Oh, are you leaving too?
Okay. Moving on, the appraisal is on page 131 to 134.
Yeah.
But that's it for wastewater. Yeah, I'm trying to move it.
But keep us in tune with
We will.
with your
We definitely keep in contact with him,
Yeah.
because we don't want to lose that.
Are you looking at tracks 1 and 2 or just track 2?
Just one. Let me see.
Just one of the tracks.
Just one of the tracks. The
one adjacent to
The
them.
77 acre track is
Yes.
the one you're interested in.
Yeah, just adjacent to it, which I
I
think
don't
was,
see no reason to buy the.
No, unless
Got
you're,
it run the.
unless you're gonna farm.
Right.
We're not farming.
Okay, now we'll go to wastewater collections. It's page 136. Okay, the first one, the vector replacement, that is going to be a carryover. Those are built to spec, they take about a year and a half, depends on how long they take to produce them, but it's gonna be a carryover.
No, it's on order.
It's on.
It's on order, been on order. We'll get it actually in September, October, coming up.
Purchase order granted, so.
okay, yeah.
Okay, project number 2, design for the RAC lift station. Lift station getting real old. There's photos in here, but by the time it's right there, so. Page.
Pick it up underside.
144. You'll start seeing the photos of the lift station and how bad a shape it's in. Especially if we start expanding out there at their center, we run at least 1 million gallons per day out there. That needs to be rehabbed. It's kind of starting to fall apart. So that'll be one of the first things that we rehab, probably next year. We just want to do the design this year if possible, and then go to construction next year.
This would take care of any drainage, or not drainage, but sewer issues.
For expansion of the, say we get that
The
runoff
southeast.
coming in, yeah, the southeast water line extension, it would help. Yes, definitely. Okay, project number 3, I believe. Okay, it's the Mescalero lift station, RTU HMI combo for level control. That would send out our alarms. It's pretty inexpensive to upgrade it so that we don't have our floats. It has a different type of system that monitors it, and it'll do it with different process. Okay, number 4, we're requesting replacement of our second vector, which is a 2008 model. They request to replace them every 10 years, which that puts us, we're ready 15 years with this vector. It's starting to cost us a lot of money on maintenance repairs. So we want to get that vector replaced also, and it'll be another year and a half before we receive that one, once we place the order. And that one, they do require a purchase order. They won't do it without. We tried. Okay, that's it for that. Third one. No, we got the lab, and then we got the.
I haven't seen anything on the lab.
I have to see where it's at in here. It's just HVAC units.
Out there.
Yeah.
It's the HVAC units on top of the lab. What it is. Should be in here.
I didn't see it.
I didn't either.
You see it?
No.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay, that's a no.
We'll have to pull it out of regular budget.
Well, hopefully.
How many of them you need?
Need to, it's 18,255.08.
Yeah.
And that's for the replace HVAC units.
Never had that.
They pinhole in because of the gases out there, you know, I mean, it's very corrosive. So we wanted to replace both of them, so I did. And if I didn't, and it might be, maybe I didn't attach it when I sent it to Tammy because.
Look at page 168.
150.
168.
6'8".
There it is.
Well, Tammy, you're on top of things.
Sometimes.
Tammy, thank you very much.
Yeah.
No.
I could have swore I sent it.
I missed it through the packet.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Well, I get confused with the two-sided.
That's the only item you have on there.
Hey, I sent this in like 25 minutes because I put poor Tammy over there. Thank you for getting that submitted because
Yeah.
I was getting chewed out over here on this side.
I just said, get it in.
No, we got it.
And then you had to call me back because she was saying, oh.
Yeah, but it worked out. Okay, so that's the only thing for the wastewater lab. Okay, now water production, we did sewer collection, waste plant, and so we just got the water production to central control. See what page we're on that one. Give you a page.
So and then on our regular budget numbers, all we did was go through and the personnel got increased 5%, like it called for in the rate study. So whatever, we didn't even do that. It wasn't in there.
You didn't do the personal.
But the operations,
we didn't get
that part, we increased 8.3% because that's what it called for in the rate study. It was 6% for the to catch up for the last few years, and then the inflation rate at 2.3. So that's where those numbers might be.
It's going to be really interesting for us to watch and track revenue and see on the revenue side what happens with the rate study.
Yeah, here's why we can't even estimate what that is in 6 months. When we look at this in March, February, March.
Yeah.
Then we'll have some real data, but it's gonna be hard to send that out at that point. Unless you got a year or 2 years, it's hard to analyze that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, next one's on page 173. That's water production for central control. We do have our BFG project for well 4. It's a carryover.
Yeah.
That's 592,255. We're getting ready to start. They order parts for it now. We're waiting for parts to come in, and then we'll start demoing the building in-house. We're getting ready to start that process, get the building down, and then they'll start on it. But parts have been ordered, so they're coming in slowly, so.
Get a concrete so we can do it fast.
Never misses an opportunity.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
Rather quick.
Yeah. And then project 2, of course, is the well rehab. That's 8,181,290.33.
That's an ongoing.
That's an ongoing, so of course, that's 55/45 loan versus grant. So we will have revenue, but we gotta cover the expense up front and then get our
Reimbursed.
But with that, I stand for any questions from committee members.
Well, I think it's important that you guys and solid waste is fixing to be on here to keep us with all these things, because it's easy to lose track of that stuff that we need when you've got something that's kind of pretty in front of you. Oh, let's do that. Well, you just put money away from some of these other projects. Because you just got this big a piece of pie.
Always a trade-off.
And you can't expand your pie. Just the way it is.
Yeah, do you want windows? What do you need versus what do you want?
Yeah. Well, this has been a good review of some stuff that we've already talked about. All three.
And excuse me, Chair, but I also think at some point in time, we need to put this on a prioritize, put a list together and start prioritizing things.
Yeah.
And look at which ones we really want to aggressively pursue, the needs and the wants, as you mentioned, and,
We kind of have that.
Oh, that was part of the process. Is you
Okay.
asked them for their top 5.
Got you. Okay.
Prioritized work.
Perfect.
But no, that's exactly what we need.
Good. I mean, because I look at them as just projects.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is, for decades, the city of Roswell has not addressed these issues objectively and looked out in the future and go, oh, we're gonna need $5 million. How many of these projects can we get done for $5 million? Yes, but I'm not talking about this fiscal year. I'm talking about in FY 26, because we're already in the process of 24, 7 and 8. Extend that out. Of course, your pricing all that time keeps doing that. You just can't play catch up fast enough.
Right.
Federal Reserve says they're getting it under control.
And we got to take a while to get that done. What I said, when I gave my presentation to any of the civic groups, it's going to take 6 years. Get caught up.
All you got to do is watch the bond yields. Watch the 10-year treasury.
Yep. And we're overextended in my opinion, on our long-term debt, and we're locked in. So there's no way to accelerate that. The payment schedule, even if you had the money.
Those are locked in. That's liabilities are going to hang over your head for duration.
Well, just like the water tax, these guys.
Scary.
So with, I wasn't here, $18 million. That's a bond payment we got to here.
That exciting.
Why do you got to bring up ugly stuff, man?
Well.
No, I know. It's seriously, it's over our head. It's something that's going to be over our head for a while.
Yeah, you see the cost of improving the infrastructure is here in the millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That lift station, I don't know if you've seen the estimate in here.
I did.
3,132,000 now, just to replace it. We're just trying to do the design.
It's today's cost.
And after they do the design, that could change. That's just a general estimate of what it would cost. The rehab of the thing, $8 million. I mean, we're doing very small projects towards improving the infrastructure, and the cost is going to continue increasing. So it's very, very expensive
We have really good plans until it goes over to engineering.
Oh.
This price tag.
Can relate with that though. Honestly.
No, that's just the nature of the business.
So why don't you just go buy some lottery tickets? Solve it all.
No guarantee.
$4 million lottery. We did.
Well,
Yeah, then how would you explain that? Oh, okay.
Still, we bought some water valves.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? You too?
No, I've seen this and I appreciate it. It's one of these things, like we're saying, carryovers and,
Appreciate it.
getting that all squared away, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate that.
You're going to start seeing our list of wants and needs through 2008.
Our work's really going to start because we have to put all that together with the rate increase. So we got to start getting a plan together, start getting everything out to bid. So our work really starting now.
What I like about the rate plan is we can plan these expenditures over time.
Right.
And we're not getting crunched. Like, oh God, I gotta have $3,000 for trucks.
It's going to drop the anxiety level so
I
much.
think the whole city is getting on
Well,
that. The police department's getting there on the replacement units. Everybody's getting on that replacement unit schedule, so.
Totally correct, Counselor. I'm serious. That's going to be a big.
and we're getting everybody's thinking about a schedule on replacement of this.
Yeah.
So you don't get hit.
5 years down the road.
Yeah, I need $500 million because this truck just broke down and can't be repaired. I gotta have it.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Surprise.
And $500 million for some of this equipment is just a down payment on other pieces of equipment. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Okay.
We got her done.
She told me back.
So we got the capital project budget as it presently stands, going into our, Mr. Cole's budget, because this isn't our budget yet, because he ain't got all the stuff shipped to us yet. And we're gonna, and by the way, in spite of my early lobbying efforts, we're gonna have a special finance committee meeting and special city council. I'm just telling you, it's coming. Because I'm special. I don't like being special that way.
Special ed people call me, but you can be special.
He used to ride that little yellow bus.
Yeah.
Where your office is.
What's he getting blamed for? He said it.
You were agitating. I like him. And like his wife, so I don't know if that's what it is. Because he doesn't have an office anymore. He's not bothering his house, and I don't want Angie. So this is the way I understand it. This is the way it's ready for. Subject to further review. We're not done yet, I don't think. He hadn't sent me my copy of it yet, so I don't know what it's exactly gonna say. I've got an idea based on some conversation. So we just want you guys to, this guy's here now, take a look at this and if you've got some comments today, fine. If not, then look through this list and you've got something to do, call that gentleman right there. Don't call me, call him. When you can't sleep at night because you look at this list and you saw too much stuff or not enough stuff or whatever. Because I think this is just a step in the process, trying to get everybody to feel like they didn't get left out.
To fit inside the economic situation that we're in.
Well, that's a big part of it, no question.
Well, Mr. Chair, the council needs to understand that this is about trade-offs. Budget is always about trade-offs. What must you have versus what you want? And what we must have is some kind of meaningful increase for our staff for retention and to take care of the inflation concerns. And so we worked very hard as a committee, as a group, and I appreciate everybody coming to that table and making that happen. So there are trade-offs in this thing, but we also looked at it and said, okay, what do they have to have? And let's make sure we take care of that too.
And I guarantee you, when the budget comes out, I'm not gonna be happy with parts, you're gonna not be happy with other parts, you're not gonna be happy with something else.
And you guys might not be happy.
Oh, and our employees, or who knows where they're gonna get on this deal, but
If I can get one of those lists, I can call Mr. Cole about every 30 minutes, tell him something left
that's
off.
just why I'm not offering you my list. I do occasionally try to keep.
You remember the old TV show, Let's Make a Deal?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Wait for that or not?
I appreciate you guys keeping the employees in mind on that, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Inflation's up and that.
Have to work for it.
You kind of said, we're gonna do it.
Definitely appreciate that. Yes, they should be priority number one.
They're assets that need to be protected.
If we take care of them, they'll take care of us.
Yeah. There you go.
But I'm sure that it's not, whatever happens is not gonna be enough. It's never enough.
No, it's not.
So,
but that's part of the culture walking in is there seemed to be this idea that it's unlimited, and it's not. It never has been.
No.
And we've
You
been
don't have grandson.
burning cash balance to
You don't have
get
grandson duty.
unlimited.
No, my mom got him.
Just overrun.
Okay.
Yeah, because I knew not to.
Public comment.
Do you have any public up there?
Yeah, we got info, but nobody. That's next month.
Yeah, next month.
He's the next one.
We were going to 6 o'clock as it is. Public comment. Going once? On the screen. Well, I'm doing the onlines right now. Online guests, any comments? Going once? Going twice? Okay, you're on your feet. Go.
I'll give you a little bit of insight for what the blue collar. Right now, about a third of them are looking to move to a different job. And as it stands right now, from what your schedule was, the average family of 4 runs about 15,000 gallons a month consumption of water. Look that up on many different sources, and that's about the average. That's going to put their water bill from about 105, 107 right now, up to right under 200. So about $100 a month increase for the average family of 4. So where we're at right now, a 6% COLA, and every after-tax dollar that we get goes right back to the city. Anything less than that, and July 1st, whatever increase we get, our purchasing power is still lower on July 1st than it was June 30th. That's real numbers. That is just real cold, hard numbers. You know, last year was horrible. You had a lot of people that did stick in, and most of them are just, their fingers are crossed, they're right on the boards. They're sticking out, they're hoping. And that's where it sits.
Well,
and I know that everyone's banking on this air show.
We got
an awful lot of employees. Half the employees are making would you like fries with that money? Except there you get free food, so they actually do a little bit better than working for the city. That's real, those are real numbers too. Because 15 an hour is a bare minimum to start at fast food. All the benefits plus free food. The culture needs to change, but as of right now, the large majority of your employees are hanging on by a thread. We now have local Southwest Disposal was advertising $25.37 an hour compared to our 18. Waste Management, I think they're pretty damn close to that. What is it, Dexter? So these aren't the Carlsbad Hobbs numbers. This is coming home now. It's not going to get better. So I would really urge you to seriously think about the numbers. Think about the 30 to 40% increase over the last 3 years compared to what are we, about 6% that we've increased in pay. There gets to be a point in time where you love your job, but Capital One Auto says, I don't care, I need that payment. For all those younger people, and that's what we want, right? The younger people, you bring them in, you shape them, they have a career. These are the ones that are trying to make a mortgage payment, car payment, have kids, and they're in real bad shape. Our only saving grace is that our home is paid off. Otherwise, you're right with everybody else that, well, I don't want to go back to Artesia, but at the end of the day, if your income doesn't at least meet your outgoing, it's simple economics. I love being a medic, but as an auto mechanic, I pay my bills. As a medic, I love the job, but I ain't gonna pay the bills. This is a long time to go back east, but it's simple economics, and that's where we're at now. I'm sure that everyone in this room dealing with finance, you're fairly well aware of the increases over the years, the current pay scale for us, current pay scale in the area. It's not a good thing. So please keep that in mind when you're finishing off the budget here, you're crunching the last bit of numbers. These are real hard numbers. Anything less than 6, and and we go further behind on July 1st after the new rates and the increase or whatever it is.
Bruce, do you know how many out there in blue collar or have health insurance benefit with the city? Would you say it's about 100%?
I wouldn't say it's 100%. Okay. I would assume it's close. That has not been a topic we have discussed with people that the large majority.
I want to point something out to you, just so you know. The city pays between 75 and 88% of the medical and health insurance cost for the employee. I don't know of any other place that does that. Artesia, Carlsbad. It's worth knowing. It's worth knowing.
We are aware of that.
Yeah. It's pretty substantial. So, I mean, that's about a little over $5 million a year in the current year. That is part of the compensation package.
I believe about 40% of a person's compensation goes to benefits and other items. So yes, I'm very much aware of it.
What I'm saying is if somebody's shopping a job, they need to understand that on the front end, and I don't think everybody does, because I didn't.
Most people nowadays are, healthcare came to the front runner and front light, 5, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, and people became much more educated on healthcare.
Well, we pay, some of these private corporations don't have any kind of retirement. I know that doesn't mean as much when you're young, but we pay a good portion of your PERA. They all have to pay their portion of Social Security, but we pay a big hunk in your PERA too. So there's other things. Now I got it. You don't have the money in your pocket to go pay your water bill or utility bill or whatever. I understand. And the other side of this coin, as Mr. Cole said, budgets are a compromised situation. And I'd love to give everybody a big fat raise, 20%. We're just talking numbers.
Everybody would, yeah.
Oh, it'd be great.
It's kind of like Mike said earlier, we love giving away money. That's fine.
But if I give everybody a 20% raise, then what happens to the pressure on enterprise funds if we don't raise those rates up to keep the water, the sewer, and the trash collected? You're not even in the general budget. You're part of the enterprise.
Right.
And so that's a different deal, and it's easy to cloud over, but I'm pushing. Ms. Cole and I and Ms. Davies and I have had lots of conversations that we all look at the big budget, but we need to do water and wastewater and our solid waste as individual budget items, because they're all revenue producing entities. And somehow that's a problem because it's hard to separate those things from everything. Because as you said, the insurance cost is.
I didn't realize we paid 88% of insurance costs. And if you've got a family and you've got health issues,
like coverage.
you want to know that, because
I know what
you're going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be that big.
5.8.
I have had that says pay 100% insurance. They pay 100% of the employee's insurance and nothing else. So that's the stuff that they, you got to watch those things.
I've just never seen that anywhere I've been. Nobody pays 88%.
No,
it's medical.
We never did.
And it's just, that's an amazing benefit. We got to do a better job.
And the nice thing about it is pre-tax.
They may pay because I'm the employee, but they don't pay anything for the family. And if I've got a wife and kids, that could be $800 a month.
I've tried $1,500 a month.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
$1,500 a month.
Pre-COVID prices.
So you take that $1,500 and divide that by, that's $10 an hour in health benefits we're paying.
Yeah,
Close
that's
to $10 an hour.
also close to a 6% raise. If we were to remove or back off of that and then dump that into salaries, there's 6%.
We could go with other groups. There are a lot more options with healthcare than with pay.
I'm just saying it's a lot of money. And I don't think everybody realizes that.
We do. At the end of the week, it doesn't make the payments.
Understand, but if you go to work for somebody that's gonna pay half, for instance, then you're already behind $10 an hour, according to Ed's calculation.
$9.50 or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
But
$10, we're just talking.
Yeah.
We don't have, nobody's got any hard figures in front of them. Then your $20 an hour with us is more to you than a $25 an hour paycheck across the street.
Maybe I've been lucky enough to be with more reputable companies because I've never run into that kind of a healthcare scam with not paying the share. And yes, with Airgas, I had much lower payments and much better insurance. So this is good insurance, but please don't push this how great it is. We may be paying a lot, but I do know when National was down and they talked about our insurance and saw what, for example, Lenny was paying for his family, they couldn't believe it. Anyway, they want us to get with them for other options for a lot less money for better coverage.
What's the state healthcare plan?
I'd love to see their numbers.
I think it's,
Yeah, because I've never seen anything like it.
It's a tiered,
It's under years.
it's a tiered
yeah, it's
system.
No, it's a.
If you make under a certain dollar amount, then they pay like 80%. And if you make between this and this, they pay 60%. And if you make over this, then they pay 40%.
I think I pay $800 a month out of pocket.
Yeah, I think.
That's why I'm saying, James, you didn't.
So Miss Rita, do you have any words of wisdom?
No words of wisdom, but I do have, I want to thank the departments that have come and are doing programs at the Boys and Girls Club. There's only one that is not in helping with certain things, especially at the UFO. But I do want to ask, Mrs. Halverson, Counselor Halverson said that they're doing the cleanup at 8 to 12 because there was no overtime. I want to know what she was talking about when she says there's no overtime.
She's not here.
Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about.
Well,
I thought we were.
The cleanup at Cielo Grande you're talking about for tomorrow?
That's.
It's just scheduled tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought
They
that.
scheduled it on Friday because if it was on Saturday, the city would pay overtime.
right. I understand that,
Oh, okay.
but Keep America Beautiful has rules and regulations as to who can pick up trash and who can't for the Great American Cleanup.
I don't know if this is Great American Cleanup. I think it's just
It'd be
advertises.
Great American Cleanup.
You have to ask Ms. Light, or is that who's the lady?
Don Ramon.
I don't know. I didn't know it was advertised as Great American Cleanup, but anyway.
I haven't seen that advertised as.
It is, you're not on the KRB website.
You need to get you some more emails. You don't get enough.
Of them 150,
The 3 top bid requests for the trash pickup for the UFO. And I was told it didn't go out for bids. And they wouldn't tell me, they wouldn't give me a copy, nor do I know who chose this one cleaning service over the others that we use.
Well,
But other than that, I'm pretty good except the cuts off today.
Oh, sorry.
well, I think, now I may be correct, I may be off. Yeah. But I think that's Main Street to Roswell.
No, it's not. They don't have that. it was told to us in the conference that Chad was involved in, and he left, and they said it went out for bids.
My understanding is that we are gonna use some larger tax money to,
They've already spent it. It's over 100,000. It went to Main Street Roswell. They've managed that. We did kick into contract cleaning services. She is ready to go with her cleaning services.
we're not doing it.
We are not doing it.
So it doesn't.
No, it doesn't have.
Make sure that they're doing the courthouse lawn, and they're gonna give bags for the courthouse lawn.
Well, it's my recollection,
Yes.
in your discussions, that it's their deal. We're out of the entertainment business. We are not doing the UFO. We're not supporting it except some monetary
150.
150,000.
Stand that.
And we gave them we just said, here, this is all we're gonna vouch for. And it's mostly for fire, police and our trash.
Sanitation.
But we're not contracting with anybody for the UFO.
When we were in that meeting, in fact, Peggy Sesky called me the other day and said, did not the public affairs person say that they sent it out for bids? And I said, yes, they didn't send it out for bids.
Because we're not doing it.
And I talked to Barbara, who is head of it, and she
I can't
she
tell you.
doesn't have it. I'm just asking.
You may be getting some misinformation from the people you're talking to.
To the employees.
Barbara is not a city employee.
No, TJ.
Well, she gave you maybe some misinformation. So,
To know, I can put out trash cans and bags on the porch lawn.
So, and I thought we had talked about that, Rita, and you were in the room, I thought, but that, I can't remember the name of the cleaning service. Geneva, yes. And she's going to provide the bags, and she's going to do it on the courthouse lawn.
Is she?
Yes.
I
Was
want the bid.
discussed.
I want to see her bid to do that.
Well, and I don't think it was a bid for her to do that specific project, but she might have been on a bidder's list for general cleaning.
She is.
Yeah.
So the city has issued an RFP a year or so ago, and Geneva's is one of them that was awarded the RFP. It was a
TJ had mentioned that as well in our conversation.
I would like to see
Which,
It's just an agreement now, isn't it?
The bid is.
So we met with Peggy Sesky and Rita was there, TJ and I, to discuss this and also to look at the hours of operation for the visitor center. Just so you know, I have gotten revised hours for the visitor center. And I've got a couple of different versions of that. I would like to follow that and open at 8 and close at 8. So we've got those during the.
on Sunday also, right? They're going to be open on Sunday because they're closed. And I remember Amanda saying she only has 2 people and herself. She has no overtime and she cannot open on Sunday. And the UFO, I think, goes from Friday, Saturday to Sunday.
I'll have to go look, but I think that's true. I don't think it's open at Sunday because of the overtime issue.
The city of Roswell is having limited dealings with UFO.
I think
we're stretching it to
it should be limited because the city for years before did not make a profit.
But to be fair, we've also given them money so they could get porta potties.
No, I understand that there's been some help.
Yeah.
But we're not responsible for the UFO. That belongs to Main Street Roswell. And I guess you can emperor them, but they're a private organization, so they don't have to comply.
No, I talk to them. They give me whatever I need. I don't have to emperor them.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't know, but I can tell you, or at least I think I know the answer, is that we're not doing anything.
I know that. I'm well aware that the city has washed their hands and gave it to Main Street Roswell because they have always made money. And I like that idea. I don't think the city should be in the business of selling T-shirts or selling glasses or selling anything. I think the city needs to let private enterprise do private enterprise. If the city wants to give them lodger's tax money, kudos to all of you.
And I think.
We also put the visitor center out there for RFP. We also put the visitor center out there for RFP if Main Street or anybody wants.
So we're going to deal with things a different way. We thought the cleanest thing to do is just let somebody else worry about it.
I agree, and I think that's a great idea.
Nobody wanted to play.
I mean, we're struggling to pay our people. We're struggling to cover water and streets and.
I hear you. My water's been running for 15 hours now.
But the thing is, it's not.
It's not hard. Meter, just to be meter.
Just wanted to say my piece. And then I just want to say one more thing for the blue collar workers. You got all these expensive equipment, and I understand the difference between a need and a want. But you need employees to run those equipment. And some of them, I know, a generator that I didn't have a problem. I didn't even know you had a water problem on Super Bowl because number one, I didn't watch it. Number two, I'm on a well. So, but I'm just saying that you need stuff or you want stuff. You want a little boy wanting big boy toys, and you could maybe do that next year. And also,
go ahead.
I'm going to fix that water problem that we have out of the Boys and Girls Club. I know how to fix a pipe. I got the pipe stuff and I got the wrap, and I'll fix that leak out of the Boys and Girls Club.
If Rudy doesn't go fix that, let me know. I'll get guys out right away.
The irrigation man to come in.
We can get over there and fix something real quick. Just let me know. You got my phone number. Give me a call, Rita. We'll get out there and fix it. Not a problem. We don't want you to do.
Put them on speaker. You're a liability out there working.
I want him on speaker. What you on dial? No, I'm just saying that. And the court was really interesting. On Tuesday, the court was very, very interesting. And the judge and his staff should be commended on how easy and flowing it went.
You all dismissed yourself today.
Yeah, they're all.
Thank you, Rita.
Just wanted to give Rita a chance to get on her phone.
Well.
Meeting adjourned. I lost my phone 2 minutes ago.